Hello, hello, hello. This is Misty Magdalena Grace with the new and improved version of Healthy and Wealthy and Wise, where we talk about spirituality, psychedelics, plant medicine, microdosing, and really that journey within to finding your best innate wisdom, to your best health, your best wealth through all sorts of inner child healing, trauma release, grief recovery, overcoming addictions, and working with the mind, the body, and spirit. So go ahead, leave a review, subscribe, download. We look forward to your feedback. Thanks for tuning in today. Well, all right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the official relaunch. I see you, Bhakti. Thank you so much for commenting. So good to see you. So honored to have you be a part of this historical event. So grateful. Bhakti is one of my amazing spiritual mentors and teachers who's been with me through thick and thin. So I'm so excited to acknowledge you. A great meditation teacher who got me to this point, to where I am today. So welcome, guys, whether you're tuning in live or on the replay. I just wanted to say welcome. This is going to be a marathon event today. So if you're tuning in, I'm going to give you a little bit of context and why we are all here, why I'm here sharing this amazing launch with you. For you see, it was 3 years ago, July 20th and 21st, that I launched my first ever podcast. And I know there's a lot of people out there who have launched podcasts or have thought about launching a podcast. And I wanted to share a little bit about my story to get this party started. I'm going to share how it started, and then a little bit about where I've come, give you context. I'm also open to answering questions along the way. And I also have amazing guests with me today. And I'm also going to be kicking off. The first guest is my sponsor. I want to give a shout out to Soulvine and Farah Diani, who is my sponsor with ayahuasca and a lot of amazing healing medicinal tools that she provides and shares. But before I bring her on, I just would like to invite you guys, if you see value during this show, please go ahead. Sharing is caring. Hit the share button. Whether you're on one of three places, you should be able to share in all of these places, depending on if you're on your phone or if you're on a desktop. That I can't say for sure, but I'm live streaming in my Healthy and Wealthy and Wise community. You can hit the share button there. If you're on YouTube, you should be able to hit the share button. And then if you're on LinkedIn, you should also be able to hit the share button. So those are the three primary places. And if you are here and you're wanting to win one of the grand prizes, which I'll also explain, you're going to want to do a couple of things. You're going to want to comment below #live so I can find it later, #live, and the city and state where you're tuning in. And then I'm going to have fun. I'm going to acknowledge you for being here. So make sure, hey, Adina, welcome. I also will get to acknowledge you if you, not everyone. So bear with me on that. I won't be able to acknowledge everyone, but if you play along and you want to win either a plant medicine ceremony or a microdosing coaching month with me, you've got to comment below #live where you're tuning in from, and then hit the share button during the live. It will not count during the replay. So I just want to acknowledge that. And you also have a few other rules that I had sent out and emailed as well, a total of 6 things. And if you do all those 6 things, you'll be in a drawing tomorrow night or Friday. I'll be announcing the winner. If you are eligible, you'll be in that drawing. So first things first, Healthy and Wealthy and Wise to me was a breakthrough experience. So I launched this podcast 3 years ago this month. I am almost to 300 episodes. I am almost to 35,000 downloads. And I'm not going to lie, along the way, I wanted to quit many times. And at the end of the day, something told me, a little voice inside of me said, keep going. And when I realized that I had not been a statistic, because over 70% of people who launch a podcast, they usually quit within the first 2 to 3 months. And I know, Adina, you have an amazing podcast, right? It's a lot of work. It can be a labor of love, especially if you're not using to monetize your business, which is totally cool. You might be using it for branding. You might be using it to perfect your speaking ability. There might be all sorts of different reasons why. For me, it was a dream to be able to speak my truth. And literally the week before I launched, I bawled my eyes out and I was trembling. And if you've known me for a while, I'm an Ironman triathlete. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. I've done a lot of scary things in this body, in this lifetime. But I was terrified to launch a podcast. And over the course of those 3 years, I continued to take risks. I continued to face my fears and move forward with faith, even though there was a lot of times, guys, where I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know if I should quit. And since I listened to that voice to keep going, here we are today. And why am I relaunching? So I launched as an entrepreneurship podcast, Healthy and Wealthy and Wise. The goal was to help people be inspired by health experts, wealth experts, including coaching experts, marketing experts, financial advisors, and different types of experts, as well as someone who could bring some kind of value and wisdom to my show. So that's what Healthy and Wealthy and Wise meant to me. However, somewhere along the way, I made some changes in my life. I transformed, for as within, so without. And if you've followed my journey, I've worked with other spiritual mentors. I've worked with a lot of plant medicine people, a lot of experts in trauma and inner child healing. In fact, I'm going to have 2 of those experts on today. I really realized that I was wearing a mask. I was living a lie. I wasn't fully speaking my truth through my podcast. For you see, what I learned along the way was that I'm really here to be a light, to be a spiritual teacher, to help people go within. And I'm not talking just meditation, go within, but actually to go within and face your fears, to heal and release the trauma, to bless and release that which no longer serves you, all the way back to your ancestors. Not just this lifetime, but actually break those generational curses that have been holding you back from your best health and your best wealth. So I couldn't be in entrepreneurship anymore. It's not my focus. So today, July 26th, I'm relaunching into spirituality, into healing, into plant medicine advocacy and safety, as a lot of places, including Minneapolis, Minnesota, just this past week, decriminalized plant medicine. Well, what does that even mean? We're going to have a lot of hard conversations about that, because I'm actually, I'm not anti-decriminalization, but I am also very concerned about the use of plant medicine by people who don't know what they're doing, because it's really a spiritual journey with plant medicine. It's not just a mental health. The brain is the last thing that really truly benefits from plant medicine. It's more your heart and your higher self, your divine God self within, whatever you call it. And so we're going to be having a lot of conversations about that. We're going to be talking about trauma release. We're going to have some trauma experts. We're going to have people talking about different ways to somatically release the things that are stuck in your body. The body has kept the score. And so we're just scratching the surface with this relaunch with my 4 guests today, who are actual guests. And then I have some other friends coming on a little bit later. Oh, good. Yay, Lauren, you made it. Welcome. I just want to acknowledge my friend, Lauren Isaac, is here tuning in. Thank you so much for showing up today. So I just wanted to share with you the new vision of this podcast, because for you see, a lot of us look outside ourselves for the answers. So that's why I had health experts talking about the outside. How do you take care of yourself outside and get better health, right? And so the same thing with wealth, looking outside of yourself for those answers, more doing. That was my old podcast. Now we're talking a lot more about the beingness of life, which is the spiritual inner game, Again, because as within, so without. And it's really about coming back to your truth of joy, bliss, compassion, and love. And there's no quick fix or magic pill for that. So I'm super excited to be inspiring and sharing all of my new guests and my new messages for you to be inspired and equipped, hopefully, to, again, go within and find your own truth. I have also, I'll share this more on one of the other breaks, but if you noticed, I have also changed my name. I am now Misty Magdalena Grace. I'm not changing the name of my podcast because that still very much applies. It's just a different genre, different focus, different guests, different messaging, different marketing. But Misty Magdalena Grace is my new name. It's my spiritual chosen name. And that all came about because I went within, I healed a lot of the past stuff that was holding me back from living my truth. So yes, I do prefer to be called Misty Magdalena Grace, Magdalena for short. You'll see the slow evolution of that in my email address, and all of that hasn't been changed. Because guess what? I used to be a perfectionist and like, it all has to be perfect. It all has to look good. And I don't give a shit about that anymore. Now it's just about going at my own pace and evolving and changing things as the divine timing has been inspired. So I share that with you because that's a hidden element. As a former, recovering diehard perfectionist, and still I'm a double Virgo, so hey, I'm here. It's also about letting go, letting shit go that doesn't really serve me anymore. And part of that was having it all have to look a certain way or having it all have to look perfect. Where does that show up in your life? Where is that maybe hurting you physically, hurting your health? I had a lot of shame, a lot of digestive issues. And a lot of that came from that having to be right, having to look perfect, which was a huge part of my first 3 years of my podcast. Having to have the perfect editing, having to have the perfect, images and thumbnails and all of the things. And I feel like as we head into this age of Aquarius, the more grace, compassion, acceptance, patience we can have with ourselves, then we give that to other people. And I'm also here to say that I'm still a work in progress. Yay! My friend Cesar Marin from Hotlanta, from the East Coast. He's going to be on tomorrow. So giving him a shout out, whoop, whoop, talking about his journey with how microdosing helped him quit vaping. And I'm sure a few other things along the way. So now I'm going to go ahead and it's time for me to share with you my first guest. And then I'm going to be coming in and out with different announcements and different things and testimonials and all sorts of stuff. So I hope you could stay for the whole thing. And if not, come back tomorrow, come back later, tune in, tune out. The recording will be immediately available on YouTube and here on Facebook as well as LinkedIn. So I'm going to be starting with my sponsor. Soul Vine is my sponsor. I started using this medicine. It's actually right here next to me. And it's a tincture of Cappy Vine. It's actually part of ayahuasca. And this is fully legal. This is something that I coach my clients on who are looking to go within to heal mental, physical, and spiritual trauma, anxiety, depression. It's also great for weight loss. It's a great natural appetite suppressant. But it really works through softening your heart. It really helps you embody your truth. It's helped me release a lot of codependency. It's helped me soften more into my feminine energies of receptivity, love, compassion. So if you want to win my free month of coaching and win some free ayahuasca, there's those 6 rules that I'm not going to go over now, but how you can win this. And it's a tincture. You put it under your tongue. It's part of my new rolling out next week, my new microdosing subscription program to support people in a very, very affordable way. work with this medicine, and not only just work with it, again, because there's no magic pill, there's no quick fix, but how do you embody it? How do you integrate it? How do you make yourself whole with the messages that come through? You got to take action. It's got to be in alignment with your highest and greatest good and the good of all beings, because otherwise you're just putting this under your tongue and praying and hoping and wishing for the best. That's not how you get lasting results. And so Farah Diani has a huge background in psychotherapy. She's also a plant medicine woman, also a healer. She's my friend and business partner in this space. So, oh yeah, Yolanda, I'll maybe shoot me an email on that. If there's anything that you guys have questions on that I won't be able to respond to while we're on here, shoot me an email, lois@loiskofi.com. Okay. And it's also on my website. The third, if you go back to the website where you registered, if you didn't register, go here and register. You may be eligible to win the prizes and the free ayahuasca, the free coaching, and I'm also giving away a plant medicine ceremony. So register to win there. And then if you stay on my email list, you'll get the spelling really easily. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead, and Farah is actually in Europe right now. So this is a recorded interview that I did with her that I'm going to share with you now. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. 1 second. So go ahead and take notes. And as soon as we're done, I will be back after this interview. So if you guys can't hear something, let me know, comment below. I'm going to go ahead and share this now. Well, all right. I'm so excited and honored to unveil this 3rd-year anniversary podcast sponsor in my new friend, Farah Diani, who is the owner of the Soul Vine and actually who introduced me to microdosing with this amazing, beautiful, beautiful medicine. And she has an amazing background. One of the things that impressed me the most about Farah is not only is she a medicine woman, she actually has a psychotherapist background. So a lot of science that she brings to the table. And then she started to fall in love and experience the beautiful grandmother ayahuasca medicine. She's also a combo practitioner and a healer. And now she offers up this medicine, like I said, to help so many people, including myself and my clients. So Farah, I'm so excited to have you here. I'd love for you to share, because it's got to be an amazing story being a psychotherapist and being in the medicine space and starting this company. I'd love for you to share more about yourself.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me, Magdalena. It's nice to see you again. I'm a psychotherapist. I started with, doing therapy with people, specifically people with addiction problems. And that kind of led me to trying to find new ways of helping people. For me, the medicine called me about 16 years ago, and I drank the medicine a few years later. I went to the jungle in Brazil, and I was with the Yawa tribe, and it was an amazing, profound experience that I had. And I just decided that I was going to continue with it. So I did continue drinking the medicine, and I kept going back to Peru, and I came across another medicine, Cambo, that I had never heard of. And it was a very intense experience, and I did it by the river in the Amazon rainforest. And I thought I would never have this medicine again. It was just not a good, it was not comfortable. It was very uncomfortable. But I did feel amazing after. And I somehow that medicine called me too. And I got trained, and I was treating people with Kambo, and it was helping people with depression and anxiety. And then I came across someone who was microdosing ayahuasca, and no one had heard of microdosing ayahuasca at that time. So I started microdosing, and it just changed my life. And it's interesting because I feel like I got connected to the spirit of the medicine when I started microdosing. And I had sat in many, many ceremonies, but I actually got really connected to her deeply. And she would come to my dreams, and it was a sign for me that she actually chose me to serve this medicine and bring it as microdose, because um, as you're aware, ceremonies, there are many, many ceremonies here in the US, especially, and they are not affordable for many people. So microdosing makes it available for people who can't have access to the medicine readily, or they just can't afford to go to ceremonies. And it's also it's legal, and it does the healing. It's, the healing, you can heal with this medicine because um, ayahuasca, the vine itself, is a potent antidepressant and anti-anxiety medicine. And it also helps with neurodegenerative diseases. So just the fact that it is legal and available at a very low price, I think that that helps a lot more people that can't go to ceremonies or can't go to the jungle and have a shaman treating them. So this really opened a way for more people to have access to her. And I feel like um, there's a reason why um, she has made herself available in this way, is because she wants to reach more people all over the world, not just in the States. So this being legal and being available and being affordable, I believe, is something that has happened because she wants it in this way, as well as sitting in ceremonies. And sitting in ceremonies, it's an intense experience, as you know, and it's also not for everyone. And people don't screen their people very well when they sit in ceremonies, and that causes a lot of issues and gives Mother Ayahuasca, our grandmother, a bad name. And that's not something that we want. So yeah, so this is really helping a lot of people, and I'm really, really happy that she found me. She thought that I would be the right person to serve this.
Yeah, and I'm so grateful too. You said so much in there.
Yes.
We'll spend the next 10 minutes sort of unpacking a little bit, but I know since I've relaunched this podcast, Healthy and Wealthy and Wise, to be one of the most available, thoughtful, safety first with plant medicine type podcast. You said something that most people are probably like, wait, what? Ayahuasca is legal? Can you explain more about what you mean by that? Because I know there's a lot of people that are probably confused right now.
Yes, so in the ceremonial admixture, there are two plants. There is the ayahuasca wine, and there is chacruna. Normally, there's chacruna that has DMT component. And so this is only the vine and not the admixture. So the vine is used by the tribes, has been used for many, many years, thousands of years, in admixtures with other plants as well, not just chacruna. So so this is the main healing plant, and the common denominator in all these healing plants that are being offered by the tribes. And we in the Western world only know that mixture that's combined with the chacruna leaves and ayahuasca. So yeah, this is the main healing plant, in my opinion. That's why the whole admixture is called ayahuasca. And of course, the DMT part has its own part, but it's not necessary to have a journey all the time, and it's just not doable. And when you talk to many of these shaman, you realize they don't drink ayahuasca all the time, and they're serving this medicine because there's a high demand right now by the psychedelic tourists that go down there. So the ayahuasca vine is known. It is not psychedelic. It is legal, obviously, because it's not psychedelic, and it is mixed with over 80 plants that are known to us by the tribes for their healing. So so that's why it's legal. There's no DMT in there, and you can have it every day as microdose, and it's going to change your life, like it did mine.
That's awesome. And I will tell you guys, where you can find this amazing, I call it a sacred elixir. That's my phrase. And I've shared prior to sharing this interview, just how it's helped me just soften so much more, because before I didn't know you could microdose with ayahuasca either. Like, it wasn't even a thing. I thought I had to go and do the deep dives, which I have done countless. And sometimes those they rocked me so bad that I'm like, I'm never sitting with grandmother again. And so it was really profound to find you and to be able to then start dosing. And for me, just to have that softening, more femininity, really coming home into my body more. Because I think a lot of us as Americans, especially, but globally, we're all stuck in our head. And you said something earlier, because I'm curious, because of your psychotherapy background, and you talked about the uncomfortableness. I think a lot of people they don't like discomfort. They don't like to be uncomfortable. When you were talking about your experience with Kambo, and even many of my experiences with Kambo and ayahuasca, people are afraid of that. They just want a quick fix. They just want to be like fixed yesterday and be healthy, whole, and complete. And since you have a background working with psychotherapy and addiction, why is it important to, as in my belief, get comfortable with the uncomfortable? Because that may come up even when they're dosing, right?
Yes. When they're dosing microdosing ayahuasca itself, it's actually very gentle and it's manageable. It's not like a ceremony. When you sit in a ceremony, it's just so out of control. Everything's out of control, and there's just so much happening. But with microdosing, you do go deep, and you get a lot of messages. You your perspective changes, and but it's subtle. You have to be patient. You're right. We're looking for that quick fix. We're looking for the magic pill, and it just doesn't exist. You have to do the work. You have to do the inner work, and and you need to be consistent. You need to be committed. You need to be persistent. You need to you can't quit, because this is your life and your healing. So you need to continue. You need to do you need to do whatever that you can do to heal yourself, and you're responsible for yourself. So the messages that come to you have to pay attention to, because it's subtle. It helps you tune in and get to know yourself a little bit better, because every day you're tuning in and checking with yourself and your body and the medicine, and then you understand how the medicine works. You have to be patient with yourself and your healing. So, and do the work. That's all I can say. If you don't do the work, no one's going to do it for you. If you want to feel better, you have to do whatever you need to do. So that's my opinion.
Yeah. And you've been dosing with her for how long?
5 years now.
5 years. Yeah. So that also gives you guys perspective. I've been dosing for 3.5 months, almost 4 months now, and have had support, also integration to take what you receive, these messages, and then how do you embody it and then take aligned action, because the messages come, but you got to actually be conscious of them and take action, right? To see the results, lasting results.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And I believe, you've never heard of a success story that someone quit in the middle of, if you want to be successful in it, you can't quit. And what you need to do, you need to you have to look in your toolbox as well. Doing the work is looking in your toolbox. You have the microdose, you have ayahuasca microdosing. And for me, it's been a miracle to come across this, you know. Um, and it's always my go-to, you know, medicine. The first thing that I like to, you know, when I'm feeling a little off and imbalanced, because I know I'm connected to the medicine. I know that it works. So, and it's gentle. Of course, you know, there are other medicines that we can use in case, you know, in case of, you know, if it's something that's, it's an experience that we need to shift quickly from that, the emotions. There's Sananga, there's Hape, you know, we have all these magnificent, beautiful, amazing medicines available to us. And ayahuasca is definitely one of the main ones that I go to. And I believe that people should look into their toolbox and see what they have to work with. Most of us have a lot of tools to work with, like breath work. We have a breath. We can just use that. Take deep breaths. You know, we can do yoga. We can do meditation. We can just go for a run, go running. You know, do some exercise, dance. You know, you can dance and feel better. You immediately makes you feel better. You just have to do it. And counseling, integration work is very important. So if you can have all of those, then it's amazing. If you can, just if one thing works for you, do that. You know, even if one thing makes you feel better, do that. So that you feel better and you can have a better life, because we're here to evolve and to not have all these distractions. And we're not supposed to be depressed and we're not supposed to have anxiety, but we live in a world that is almost impossible to not have stressors. We have stressors every single day. So people ask me, how long do I need to microdose ayahuasca? And you know, I tell them, as long as you have stressors in your life, you know, on daily basis, then you need something, you know, to stay balanced and to keep you, you know, like centered. So as long as, you know, if you can go somewhere that you don't have any stressors, then sure, you know, you can just not take anything, and because you are your own medicine. But as long as we're living in this world of, you know, the big cities, with the jobs that we have and the technology that's just astronomically, it's going fast. It's just going so fast that we can't keep up. Our biological bodies are not designed to evolve as fast as the technology is designed. It is improving. So yeah, we need these medicines, and that's why they are here and they're available to us. I think the plants want us to have access to them, and this is an amazing way of having access to Mama Ayahuasca.
I
Yeah.
love it. I'm so grateful for you and our partnership. And you said everything. I mean, thank you for being here and allowing me, someone who's a plant medicine woman, to be able to serve this along with Hape and Sananga, and to spread our wings, and like the mycelium network, like you and I were touching all these different people's lives together. So I just also want to acknowledge you and say thank you so much for coming into my universe, because everything you just said, the breath work, the meditation, yoga, inner child healing, all of that's inside of my Healthy and Wealthy and Wise subscription, which I give to my microdosing clients. So just so you guys know, Farah and I have partnered, and if you become a microdosing client of mine, I include grandmother ayahuasca, because again, it's legal. That makes it so much easier. I personally, it's my favorite now, above psilocybin. True story. I actually dosed with psilocybin this weekend, and I noticed the difference, like almost immediately. Like my body said, "Oh, where's grandmother?" And so, you know, sure enough, this morning I went back to grandmother and became softer, and immediately felt my heart opening. So if you guys are looking for heart opening, if you're looking for a softening, especially, you know, learning how to mother yourself is one of the best things that ayahuasca and all of the medicines, not just ayahuasca, that have taught me is how to go and within and find the tools, like she said, to help support those anxiety attacks, those feeling not enough attacks, those negative hamster wheel thoughts that we can sometimes bring in as our worst judges and critics. That's what I think the medicine with the tools that Farah mentioned can really make a huge difference. So before I ask you one last question, I just want to remind everyone, go check out her website is on my website, on my page. She's the premier sponsor of this event. So please go support her business. Click on the Soulvine icon on the website, the 3rd year anniversary website. Click on that. And then if you want to win some free microdosing coaching, which will include the Aya, I have a 2nd place prize for the person who signs up. So you got to register, you got to enter to win, and there's 6 things to do total. It's all listed on the website. I'm not going to go over those now because I want to focus on the last question. But if you want to win and experience this medicine for free, go register and refer some friends and all of the things that are on there. So thank you so much, Farah, for being who you are, for being on this path and listening to the call of the medicine. I wanted to ask you one final question, and then if you have any other closing thoughts that you would like to share. Since my podcast, even though it's relaunching as a spirituality, plant medicine, healing podcast, it's still called Healthy and Wealthy and Wise. So when you hear that phrase, healthy and wealthy and wise, based on your journey with the medicine and just in general, what does that phrase mean for you?
I think that describes a person who is doing the work and has healed himself or herself to a certain extent. And, you know, it's, if you're healthy and wealthy and wise, you can only be in these states if you are doing the work. And that's basically, I feel like what comes to my mind is, again, that we are responsible for ourselves and that we need to do whatever it takes without harming any beings, to do whatever it takes to bring ourselves to that state of mind or state of being that the divine has decided for us, and that's our natural state, actually. So it is our responsibility, and we should do whatever it takes to heal ourselves, to help ourselves, and to bring ourselves to our natural state, of being. So I encourage everyone to do that, and I think microdosing ayahuasca can help you, and it has helped me, and it has helped tens of thousands of people that I have worked with. And this is something that I know for a fact that is helpful. So if you are, at a place that you think you need some help, give this a try, be patient, and do your work, and you'll see the results. And I just also wanted to thank you for having this event and what you're doing as a coach, because you're contributing to the healing of the collective. And this is, we are all each other, helping each other on this path, and we rise together. So if I'm helping someone else, I'm helping myself as well. And and it's great to know there's help is available through you and others who are doing the same thing that you are doing. And I really appreciate what you're doing. Thank you so much. And I'm so glad I came across and met you.
I love you so much, my sister. I'm so grateful. I'm sorry to cut it shorter because I know this, we have a lot of guests on this anniversary and this relaunch. I'm definitely going to have Farah back again so we can go even deeper, and you'll see her again as a repeat guest in the near future. So check her out. I'll even post your Instagram. I love your Instagram profile, by the way. I'll put that in the show notes so you guys can also follow her. Beautiful posts, beautiful inspiration, especially if you feel called to the medicine and you're maybe just not quite sure. Follow her, stay tuned in, stay plugged into this amazing journey that we're on collectively together. So until next time, guys, here's to your best health, your best wealth, whatever that means for you, and learning to trust your best innate wisdom, for it all lies within. Bye-bye for now. All right, everybody. Hello, welcome. If you're just joining us, that was my first guest and my sponsor of the show, Farah Diani, the owner of Soul Vine. If you weren't here at the top of the hour, I'm going to be having guests throughout this whole 3-hour marathon. For those of you who know, I was a marathon runner. And I actually did a 3-hour and 10-minute marathon once. So I know what that's like. And so I'm excited to have another guest coming up here shortly. While we have a little bit of a time break here, I want to just acknowledge some more people who've shown up. So please, if you guys have the opportunity, comment below, #live in the city, state you're tuning in from. I'd love to give shout outs when I'm not interviewing guests. I'm also going to take this time really quickly to explain the rules of the game on how to win. You could win a free plant medicine ceremony courtesy of me, as well as microdosing coaching for 1 month with that amazing legal psychedelic known as ayahuasca, Cappy Vine. I've shared with you a little bit of my testimonial. It's been very transformative and very healing. And as you learn from her, and what me and the next guest are going to be talking about is it's more than just consuming or ingesting plant medicine. We really want to be able to help you receive coaching support for physical, mental, emotional, and embodying of the medicine. And this ayahuasca has been the best one that I've leveraged in my tool belt for microdosing. So how do you win? First of all, you've got to register here on my podcast or on my anniversary relaunch page, which is on the screen. I will drop it in the comments below. It's also been plastered everywhere inside of my Facebook community, as well as on LinkedIn, as well as on YouTube. So if you're a subscriber to my YouTube channel, it'll be easy to find that as well. So first, register, give me your email address saying, yes, I want to win. Second is to comment during the live. So depending on where you are in the universe and the world, that may be not as easy, but I do want to make sure that you comment #live. That is what you got to do in order to be considered for the next step. And then after that, hit the share button. Sharing is caring. Hit the share button because we know there's a lot of people out there struggling with mental health, physical health, spiritual health, emotional health, and they're looking for answers. They're looking for tools and inspiration. My guests may have that for them and it could change their life. Something we talk about or say may shift their consciousness and change their life. So please hit the share button during the live and I'll count that towards your eligibility. Next is to refer 5 friends. So share the website and then have them register. Give me their email address and they've got to put your name as the person who referred them. So if they put your name down, that'll count towards, and you got to have 5. And then last but not least, be able to write a review either in iTunes or on LinkedIn, or you could even do it on my Facebook fan page. So if you have any questions about that, comment below or shoot me an email. And I have I can't see your beautiful face, but I see someone #live from San Diego, California. So sometimes on the Facebook, they don't acknowledge who you are for whatever reason. StreamYard is kind of funny like that. So without further ado, because I see my beautiful guest is here, I'm so excited. And she's a repeat guest. So I'm going to let her share a little bit more about her story. But Dr. Mel Krug and I have a passion for your health. She is, I call her my spinal expert, my central nervous system expert, my breath work expert, my trauma release expert. She's been through my journey with me and she's knew me before. She's seen my work since. She's been on my podcast at least twice. I've lost count. So she made the cut to be here as part of my ascension into this new genre, into this new topic, into this new facelift and relaunch of Healthy and Wealthy and Wise. She's based in Minnesota. And I'm just super excited. So Dr. Mel, I'm bringing you on. I hope you are ready.
Hi.
Yay. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I was listening in. I did not know that you ran a marathon in that short of time. That is insane.
Yeah. I'm sure there was some trauma responses involved in that, but we won't go there right now.
They can join the membership, and we'll talk all about that trauma and how to clear it in your nervous system. Absolutely. But yes, it's an honor to be here with you all.
Yeah. So I'm going to let you dive right in and share, for the next few minutes, a little bit about your story and why you're so passionate. And just so you guys know, we are going to be talking about the central nervous system and plant medicine and how it all works together, because this is really, really important. And I'll explain why as we go along. So Dr. Mel, take it away.
Yeah, very important. So, as y'all were sharing before, when it comes to journeys and facelifts, and gosh, I've been through a lot in my own life, and I was not born this way. So when I first started my healing journey, I had my own version of trauma in my nervous system. And it wasn't until I experienced an injury playing rugby. And, there's years of stuff I could talk about, but I know we only have so much time together. As a kid, I dealt with divorce, I dealt with childhood trauma, I dealt with, sexual molestation, all these things leading up until a rugby injury, which was really my catalyst, my wake-up call, because the universe will do that, right? To get my life back in alignment. And before that, I had been, this is my early 20s, I had been dealing with menstrual cycle dysfunction, emotional dysregulation on and off, and just feeling like I wasn't myself. I was sick all the time. And so through a rugby injury, I was referred to a chiropractor. And thankfully, I started to learn how to heal my own body. I started to learn the very foundational elements of what the nervous system does in relation to our healing. Mm-hmm. And mind you, I did not grow up with chiropractic. I did not grow up learning about plant medicine or any of these things that support our own innate healing ability. So in my early 20s, I, stumbled, but there's no randomness, right? It's all part of the greater divine path. Ended up in a chiropractic office and completely changed my life. My menstrual cycle started to re-regulate. I started to shed this emotional baggage, this trauma I had from childhood that just felt like it was lingering, right? Like you carry a backpack of rocks and it just feels so heavy. And this weight just started to lift. And from that moment on, I went full force into chiropractic, and specifically my style of chiropractic, network spinal, is a way that I work with people, and that really supported me in healing from not just physical stuff like back and neck pain, right? But getting to the emotional underlying wound, getting to the spiritual wounds. And as I unraveled that in my own body, I also was invited into exploring different plant medicines for my own being, in which, I know you and I have experienced together. And that was another radical shift in my being of deepening my wholeness, deepening my embodiment. So, I'm an entrepreneur. I own my own practice. I'm also still very committed to my own healing journey. And a lot of that is why I'm with you all today, because I believe in this intersection of supporting these medicines on our planet that were given to us from Mother Earth, and how it really can interact with our central nervous system, and how it's very, very foundational and important to look at both sides, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's the Cliff Notes version.
You did great. Oh my gosh. Cause I know you've lived many lifetimes in I'm not going to date you or say anything, but like roughly 30 years on this planet. So I'm just so honored to know you and to walk this path with you in this lifetime. And full disclosure, guys, I will give credit to, knowing her. And luckily I have a network chiropractor here in Southern California. So I know a lot of people will say, oh, chiropractor, what does that have to do with anything? And, they think of the snack, crackle, pop variety. This is not that. So I want to clear that up first and foremost. I have had her adjust me before and then adjust me after a ceremony. I just sat through ceremony, and I went to my chiro on Monday, because I know, yes, I know massage is great. And there's so many things that I do to support myself and my clients now, because there's a lot of things I didn't do when I first started with plant medicine, and it really screwed me up. Like I thought I was taking 2 steps forward, but I was actually really taking like 4 steps back. So like Farah was even referencing, have a counselor or a therapist or an integration person. But then what about your physical body? So Dr. Mel, I'm really excited about this, because I've never had anybody talk about this on my podcast, but why is I don't know if the right word is adjusting your central nervous system or taking care of your central nervous system after a ceremony, or even with microdosing, maybe. Why is that so important?
Yeah, I'm excited about this topic too, because I think people, when you're choosing to go into this work, it can feel like if you don't have the strategies in your nervous system and in your body mind, which, by the way, your central nervous system organizes and coordinates everything that you experience in your life, including the choice to use plant medicines for your wholeness journey. And so if your central nervous system is in a state of more fight or flight, or you're running a trauma program, the medicine can be really, really powerful in helping you shift that. And there can be a deeper level of integration when you're getting the physical support on, the back end and the front end, so to speak, whether it's microdosing or whether it's, doing a larger ceremony. And the reason is because you as a human being have these endogenous receptors in your central nervous system, in your body, in your cells. Meaning the reason why breath work works, the reason why supplements work, the reason why medicines work is because we already have those receptors in our central nervous system. So the way I like to describe it, that I think will be a powerful analogy for your listeners, is those little things we used to play with as kids, or maybe your kids have them, where you put the shape inside the shape, like the triangle goes in the triangle, the circle goes in the circle. Well, you can think of it as if you're kind of just throwing stuff at it and you don't have it positioned in alignment the proper way, you might get some through that work and it fits, but you're not going to get all of it, right? And so having a healthy nervous system and a body mind that's the integration practices can allow all those shapes and receptors to fit aligned and sink in deeper and sink in nicer and actually integrate into the wholeness. So I feel like that's the best analogy for people to understand how important it is for having a central nervous system regulation practice. Again, breath work, network, spinal, trauma, experiencing, right? Trauma releasing, anything. Somatic experiencing is a great one. It can really help everything you're doing with plant medicine sink in at a much deeper level, where it feels so much more sustainable. Because your nervous system likes sustainability, right? It works off of both titration, small moments over time, and sometimes cathartic moments, which can feel big in a ceremony. When you have the titration practices of feeling safe in your body, mind, majority of the time, the plant medicine can just do so much more wonders for your system. So that's like my cliff notes without getting too neuroscience for you all.
Yeah, well, it's so important because there's a lot of people that come to plant medicine for so many different reasons, right? For depression, anxiety, trauma. And I know when I went, I was like a binge drinking workaholic who just wanted to save her life, didn't really even know what I was getting into. So admittedly, for those first 6 months, guys, I think I was doing more damage in some respects because I didn't have the breath work. I think having my network chiropractor, even though I didn't know what I didn't know at the time, was actually my saving grace, because maybe you can talk to us through, again, however that comes through. Because when someone's in a ceremony and they remember a trauma, or maybe they don't even remember, but their body is working through and releasing this.
Yeah.
And then they go home back to the concrete jungle of life, and they've maybe awakened this fight or flight response or something, and then they go home and they have a massive argument with their partner, which, oh, by the way, I did that.
Or too.
Yeah. So this is why it's so important, guys, and why we're talking about this, because it's so trendy now to go and do deep dives or microdosing and all this kind of stuff. But I'm an advocate for safety and doing it so safely and so sacredly that you honor your body and you honor the trauma and make sure that you release it properly. So maybe you can break down a little bit of that fight or flight trauma response that the body experiences, and then why breath work and what you do can help with that. Is that too geeky or too much?
No, I'm up for the challenge. You know I teach on this all the time. So I'm like, yes. Which, by the way, for your audience, I want you all to know I would not be on this podcast if it wasn't for the level of support that we all are speaking to, not just going out and doing a random ceremony by yourself, but this is the integration work that is absolutely necessary for you to get the results in your life, whether it's clearing depression, trauma, anxiety. I've seen a lot out there where it's just, you have this experience, but there's no integration. So when you have that experience, we do feel a lot in our body, right? We feel muscles moving, we feel our breath change, maybe we feel more contraction or expansion, and our physiology is changing. That's the power of plant medicine, is it works so deeply in our physiology to clear this armoring of the fight or flight. So when we kind of start to break off that armor and our posturing changes and our breath changes, it can feel sometimes a little bit vulnerable, right? It's new, it's novel. It's almost like a newborn baby is waking up, or a butterfly is coming out of the cocoon, or a bird is just cracked through the shell. And so in that nervous system awareness of like, oh, I can like perceive life differently, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have these patterns in our life that maybe our partner isn't as conscious of the novelty you're experiencing. So going to someone who helps your nervous system integrate that through breath, which breath is one of the most powerful, efficient ways to anchor in. Yeah, thank you. To anchor in a level of stability. It's the primary function of our physiology, because you can't live long without breath. You can go a couple days without water, right? You can go a couple weeks without food, but you can't go very long without breath. So why we use breath specifically in breath work or network spinal is focused a lot on the breath in the spine, is because it helps teach your nervous system, hey, this new awareness you're having, that you're taking your power back, you are worthy, that shame and guilt is not who you are, whatever it is for you. We want your body to be able to expand into that awareness through the breath. So that's like the really short cliff notes of why breath work, network spinal, and nervous system care can help anchor in this new perception that your brain is having and your body's having, and help you feel it more here and not just up here, right? Because plant medicine is so somatic. So we like to help the soma, we like to help the body continue that process of integration. And I almost think of it as like you're landing a plane, you're kind of like coming back to earth a little bit. You're still on earth in a journey, but you know what I mean? Those of you who have engaged in it, right? And how can we let the landing feel smoother rather than like, woo, holy shit, right? So that's how breathwork and nervous system care can really support your results. So then when you go back to ceremony again, or you work, with the coaching, you feel a level of depth. At least, this is my experience, and clients I work with who have done it, and I refer, them to ceremonies and things like that. There's a level of depth and sustainability where they feel like they can expand their results even more now, because they've had that integration in between ceremonies in their body and in their physiology. So we're rewiring things.
Yeah, and it's really connecting. And I know you're passionate about gut health, gut brain. Like we're helping with the gut brain, the heart brain, the head brain. I'm going to talk about this ad nauseum on this podcast, because I'm so tired of, and please, I don't want to offend anyone. I'm so tired of the Joe Dispenza focus, or the Tony Robbins, or, all of this head brain. It's all about embodiment and actually taking aligned action in these bodies to get lasting change. Can I get an amen on that, Dr. Mel? Anything you want to speak to that?
Yeah. How much time do we have?
I know. Well, just so you know, we want to leave them wanting more, because of course you're going to come back. You're going to come back this fall. Okay.
Yeah. And this is a lot of what I teach on, in the membership, is really understanding some of this, and not just understanding from a mind perspective, which is sometimes a masculine way of trying to make change. Whereas when we can come back home in our body, which plant medicines really do a beautiful job of that, of trusting our body more and more, there's so much more of an allowing, and we can sink into our heart, we can sink into our gut and our intuition, which have actually more dense types of neurology than even what's happening up here, different forms of neurology. So to geek out on that, right, your heart is its own brain. Your gut, the enteric nervous system, is within your gut, your intuition. And so it allows you to kind of get out of here and really sink into your body, which is a much more primitive way of trusting the way you walk through life. And it can be so much more easeful and not as like hard and focused and driven up here. Not that that's right or wrong or good or bad. Like that's totally fine. And I promise you there's a much more sustainable way, because, you know, we're born in a body, right? We're more bodies at birth than we are like brain up here. This part of our brain doesn't evolve and develop until we're about 30. So a lot of what we're referencing is coming back to like our primitive form of trusting ourselves, our animal form, and having the two integrate. And it starts with understanding you've got other ways to lead in life. You've got other connection points in life. So I think embodiment is the gateway to enlightenment. And, you know, I've said that multiple times on the classes I teach with you, but embodiment is the way. And it starts with understanding how do we access more of that embodiment for ourselves. Beautiful.
Thank you so much. I'm glad I brought that up because I know we have limited time, but I just wanted to acknowledge #live. Shut up, Anna.
Yeah.
My sister from another Mista, and Lauren has just said, yes, so helpful to remember this. Yeah, it's really important. Oh, someone else is saying not finding the share button. Make sure you're in my Healthy and Wealthy and Wise Facebook community. Yep. So go back, Healthy and Wealthy and Wise. I also shared this on my timeline. I know it's a little confusing. I did stream to a couple other places just because I can. I love StreamYard. Okay, cool. I just wanted to acknowledge you guys. Because, and just so you guys know, too, Dr. Mel is inside of my microdosing subscription. I now am rolling out next week, August 1st. As of August 1st, I have 3 tiers of microdosing and plant medicine integration support, because I created this out of a necessity, a need. If I didn't have people like Dr. Mel in my life and Jill Van Meter and different people who introduced me to breath work, I could have had a psychotic nervous breakdown, bringing up all of this trauma. I've seen people bring up repressed traumas that are horrific. And while it's good because you can't heal what you can't feel, just talking about embodiment, it can be also very, very, very dangerous. So you want to make sure whether you have a counselor, you also are taking care of your body with breath work and all of the beautiful things that I have. I have Kundalini yoga, which also works with the chakras, the prana, the life force, the chi, and all of those are connected to the central nervous system. So really wanting to just love on you guys and support you with the best of the best, which is why Dr. Mel is here. So Dr. Mel, share with everyone, where can people find you? And then if there was any other closing thoughts that you would like to share and a free gift that you have.
Yeah. Which, by the way, is it Misty Magdalena or what? Magdalena Grace? I want to make sure I'm like, you know, is there a nickname you like within that?
I love you. Thank you. Yeah. So if you guys are joining us and you're like, what the heck are you talking about? Is Dr. Mel smoking something?
I might be.
So it's right here. It's Misty Magdalena Grace is my new spiritual name, which I'll talk about in intermittent pockets when I don't have guests on the show. But Magdalena,
great,
for short.
That was my intuition. Okay, cool. Magdalena. Yes. So you can find me. I'm a millennial, so I am on Instagram. Come find me. I talk a lot about this stuff when it comes to the nervous system and breath work and becoming your own best healer. So you can find me at dr.melkrug, MELKRUG. And I speak a lot on this in the membership, as Magdalena mentioned. And I am, again, going to emphasize the work that she has done in gathering experts, because like we said, there is a lot out there. This is not to create fear, but we just want to empower you. Yeah. There's a lot of people out there who don't have the expertise that Magdalena has cultivated within the community. And I've done a lot of research, a lot of work on understanding the nervous system. And it's not to put myself on a pedestal, but I just see some of these gaps. And that's why I feel like this is really valuable. Oh, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So my free gift in teaching you that is my mental emotional alignment blueprint, which will actually walk you through much more, because safety in the nervous system and stability in the nervous system, by the way, happens in the body. It happens in the nervous system. So the resource I'm sharing with y'all will teach you how to start to do that on your own, whether you're, you know, starting to microdose or go to ceremonies or not. It's a great place to start and develop that level of safety so that when you choose to microdose, when you choose to go into ceremonies, you have some tools and strategies and stability to land on and feel more resilient in your own body mind. So there's not this, again, thing that goes whoa, this is so much. And now I don't have like a safety net to integrate with. So that's my free gift to y'all. I think that's what I sent you at least.
Yep. And you know me, Dr. Mel, she's so amazing. We talk back and forth on the regular. So we'll make sure that is put inside of the YouTube video, just so you guys know. And I'm also going to be adding this to the third podcast anniversary website by this weekend, if not sooner, just so you guys don't have to like hunt and peck and all of that kind of stuff. So last quick question for you. You've answered it a few times. It's always fun to see if things have shifted for you, even based on our conversation today. When you hear the phrase healthy and wealthy and wise, Dr. Mel, what does it mean for you?
I know you always ask this question, and I always trust what intuitively emerges without premeditating. And what I'm really feeling so much with that is the embodiment of all of that, all of it. When we have our health, we have a different form of wealth, not necessarily money. And when we have our wealth, there's like such a deep, rich wisdom that your body has to offer. Because you know me, I'm always filtering through nervous system and body. So I just feel like it's so much in our body. When you can connect to that, there's a richness of health and wealth and wisdom that you can't get out here in all the stuff. Like it's all in here, baby. So go into it and explore with guidance.
I know no one succeeds alone. I, of course, find the right guidance, the right teachers. I mean, that's why I came out of the closet myself in offering up and doing the plant medicine thing, because I was so lost and dazed and confused. My body was a wreck and all of that. So the embodiment piece, usually you don't hear how important that is to manifesting your best health, your best wealth. Most people focus on the head brain. So thank you so much for who you are and how you serve people. And I'm excited to see you in Minnesota next month.
Yeah, let's go. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you so much.
All right. Have a beautiful night.
Bye.
Happy Lions Day. Bye-bye. All right, guys. So if you're just joining us, I just, before I bring on my next guest, which is perfect in alignment with Dr. Mel was talking about intuition, and we're going to be talking about that with my next guest. But I just wanted to acknowledge, if you want to comment below, #live and city and state where you're tuning in from. This is a great time, and I will acknowledge you. I want to build community. We have a 1,200 plus member Facebook community, Healthy and Wealthy and Wise on Facebook. I have about 1,100 subscribers on YouTube. So please subscribe. Please hit the share button if you're in the Healthy and Wealthy and Wise group, or even on LinkedIn. I'm going to be going for about another 2 hours, give or take. We've got more guests and prizes. Just to remind you guys, if you're looking to win one of the grand prizes, go to this website and register yourself. Comment below live during the live, hit the share button, sharing it on Facebook, or if you're able to share it on YouTube or on LinkedIn during the live. And then, of course, refer 5 friends. Refer 5 friends. They have to submit their name and email address with their permission. Of course, don't just submit your friends blindly, please. And then, of course, put your name down as the referral. And then if you can write a review for me on iTunes and or Facebook or LinkedIn recommendation. All of this has to be done by tomorrow. Oh, by the way, tomorrow, July 27th, by the end of the second live show is the deadline. So if you don't get all of that completed by 7 p.m. Pacific tomorrow night, you will not be eligible to be in the drawing. And let me see, who do we got here? All right. I don't know. Sorry. Don't know who you are. I can't acknowledge you. The Facebook won't let me do that. We've got Adina again, who's going to be on in a little while. So thank you, Adina, for being coming on short notice to my podcast. And then Katie, live from Massachusetts. And I'm going to guess that this is Miss Sandy Duncan, my beautiful friend. You're one of the, I think you're the only person I know in Faulkner, Mississippi, right? I hope I got the right person. All right. So next we have another powerhouse woman who's been on my show multiple times. You also saw her. She's done some impromptu lives for me. I call her my oracle, which she always laughs at, but it's true. She helped me and my husband predict our move to Southern California. She's helped me work through some health issues. She's helped me work through financial issues. But the most important thing that she helped me really was the catalyst. I've had a few other spiritual teachers and mentors, and now, of course, plant medicine helped me like really develop my intuition and trust myself. Part of the wisdom of healthy and wealthy and wise is not looking outside yourself for your answers. Dr. Mel just talked about that, embodying that in your heart space, in your gut brain, your intuition. All of these things are inside you guys. You don't have to look outside yourself for the answers. Guidance, yes. Support, yes. Intuition, no. And she really helped me to awaken my intuition and my belief in myself that I could trust my intuition. Because how many of us have been hurt, burned by decisions that we've made, trusting other people, all of that kind of stuff. That's part of life, part of maybe your karma. But she really, really helped me go within and really stop looking without in many capacities. So Amy, I hope you're ready. I'm bringing you on. I was just chatting you up here.
Yay, hi.
Yay. All right, Amy.
Live from hot Minnesota.
Yay, yes. Well, welcome. I am so excited to have you here again. And there's a lot of things happening this summer, a lot of shifts happening as we head into period 9. And so I'm really excited for you to be here to help people be able to move through this stuff, hopefully with more ease and grace than before. So why don't you share your story and a little bit about you?
Yeah, right now is not so easy, is it, everybody? There's a lot going on energetically and vibrationally around in this earth. So I am Amy Tyson, as Magdalena said. I have to get used to having that roll off the tongue. And I am a metaphysics expert. So my true passion in life is helping my clients lean into their divine intuition so that they can design their destiny, guided with that inner source energy. So I'm a catalyst, but I use the science of metaphysics, specifically something called Chimendunja, which is the spiritual aspect that I have studied and what I introduce to my clients, Bazi, which is life destiny analysis, and then the energy that's in our environment, so the feng shui piece. So this is the classical feng shui. It's not the type that you typically read in books in the local bookstore or that you get on Amazon. So it's the classical foundational stuff that they used in China. So I actually study with a school in Malaysia. So I've been to Malaysia, Singapore, and China as part of my studies. So it's a very rich and deep study. And if you had asked me 20 years ago if this is what I would be doing with my life, I would have thought you were crazy. So I started to do the math. I'm like, oh my goodness, I opened up my company in 2008. So 15 years ago, July. So I'm 15 years old with my company, but things have really changed drastically for me because I'm continuing to learn, taking all of this rich, ancient science and bringing it into the modern day to help us with the things that are going on in our life now.
Awesome. And you've been through your own journey. I mean, you've had your own health challenges that I think the work that you do helped you navigate, and you probably also had a time where you didn't trust your intuition so strongly. And so I think this work has helped you. So maybe if that's a good segue into sharing anything about why is trusting your intuition so important, then we'll talk later about why it's so important now. The way I like to think about intuition, so many people think, oh, well, if you're intuitive, then you know what's going to happen next. And that's not really how it works. Everyone will tell you that. Every single person that's watching here or anyone in the general Facebook community or elsewhere, they've all had a sense of knowing something was going to happen. They just knew it. And maybe it only happened once in their lifetime. So today I was working with a client and the husband came up and she was telling him, oh, we were just talking about you and we're talking about the intuition you have. And he kind of rolled his eyes and she looked at him. She goes, no, think about that. He goes, oh, that's right. I remember they were going on a vacation and their son was coming over to check the house. He goes, yeah, I remember before we left thinking, oh, there's no key. I didn't get him a key. Oh, he'll just use the garage door. He'll just enter through the garage. But he goes, it kept bothering me. And he goes, I woke up at 1 a.m.
thinking this isn't going to work. And his phone rang, and it was the person that was getting to their house and said, the garage door isn't opening. Is there a key somewhere? And I told him, start to listen to that. Start to pay attention to it. So my journey is, I didn't really recognize the intuitive talents and gifts that I had. I had other people telling me years and years ago, oh, you're clairvoyant. I'm like, what do you mean? And they said, well, you see things before they happen. And I had that really scary experience. I was driving my son somewhere, and I saw this car swerving all over the road. And there was a lot of traffic in the oncoming lane. And I looked at my son, I go, did you just see that? And he's like, what? And sure enough, this car weaved right in front of us, went into the ditch, and flipped over in the air. So I had seen it just like a minute before it actually happened. And I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. So I made a commitment to myself in 2021 to use that year to really understand how my intuition works. And that's the advice that I would like to give to everyone is everyone's intuition is different. It communicates with you differently. Maybe you hear things, maybe you see things, maybe you just know things. So it's clairaudience, clairsentience, clairvoyance. So there's different types of intuition out there, but they all originate with the God spark within. So every one of us has a spark of divine within us. Now, the more you work with it, the brighter it becomes. So it's starting to, you want to uncover it, and you want to fan the flames, and you want to help it grow brighter and brighter, so that you understand how it works with you, so you can trust it. And that's a really key word for you to use, Lois, is Magdalena. Sorry, see, to trust it is the implicit piece, because it's very easy to brush it under the rug, like that client's husband was doing today. And that comes with, number one, playing with your intuition. Number two is asking for certain things to show up for you, and you get to decide what that is. You could say, if I'm on the right track, show me a white feather. But then you have to remember, number one, you asked for it, and number two, you need to be looking for it. You can't just sit in the same place all day, though this has happened to me. I said, I'd like a white feather to appear if this is the right thing. And lo and behold, I walk out of my office, and here's this teeny tiny little white feather on the floor. And I'm like laughing, going, you gotta be kidding me. And just say thank you. Every time something shows up that affirms that whatever you've asked for, say thank you, because that fans the flames of that intuition as well. So 2021 was really the pivotal point. I knew it was there. But I didn't understand how it worked in my life. So since 2021, I've continued to work with it and starting to share it more and more with my clients, my own journey to help them understand how their intuition can be tapped into for their benefit.
Yeah, because it helps you with your goals and your dreams. Like, I'll just share quickly. And then you said some things that I want to unpack a little bit deeper, because I feel like I know why. One of the reasons I didn't trust my intuition, I'm going to get to that in a second, but I knew I wanted to move to California. I knew it was more than a dream. My intuition was like, go west, young girl, go west, which then led me here and led me on this massive spiritual awakening, so the call was there. And then you helped me navigate the signs and all of that beautiful stuff. So having Amy as a guide helped me learn how to dream again and how to trust myself, and that it wasn't just some passing fancy or something I ate for dinner that gave me gas. Like, this is a real dream, and your intuition is like, I say more your heart brain, even though gut instinct and intuition gets a lot of I don't know, press or navigation. But wouldn't you say, you said God spark, and that's what I want to go deeper on in a second, but wouldn't you say that this is like more of your heart brain, your heart connection is where your intuition is?
Your intuition can be in any different area. So I think of it as your intuition is aligned with your chakra system.
Okay.
So you can have intuition here, all the way down. And when, you were talking with Dr. Mel a little bit about sometimes you have to get out of your own head. And I've noticed that sometimes people say, oh, it's my intuition. No, it's your human wish. You're just wishing that would happen. So there's a difference. Sometimes we just have to get out of our own way. And that's when you get quiet and you had the nudge. You had the nudge, move to California. It didn't go away.
Mm-mm.
All right. So the difference is that was something, it got stronger and stronger, and you probably started seeing signs and signals all around you.
Yeah.
And then the tipping point when we were talking that evening, when this really cool thing happened, you said to me, I know we're supposed to do this, I just don't know when. So we tapped into that Shiman Dunja formation, remember? When we did this?
Oh, yeah, I remember.
So we were at a networking event, and Lois is talking to me. She's telling me, I know we're supposed to go. I just don't know when. So I said, oh, this is a great, what's called Shiman hour. There's a formation that was super strong. So I put her back to the direction. And I said, okay, what do you want to know? And she starts rambling about something. I said, no. What do you want to know? And we formed it in the form of a command. I want to know as quickly as possible, when is the right time for me to move my family to California?
Mm-hmm.
And what happened driving home that night?
Oh, to keep it simple, because there was a lot of layers to that. We basically were told by our landlord that he was selling the house we were living in, and we needed to plan on getting out. And so that was a clear message. And luckily I had already, well, not luckily, divinely, I'd already gone to California. I'd already found the place where we were going to move into. And it was just like bada boom, bada bing. Less than 60 days later, my kids were starting school.
I was going to say, it was like, you had like a month notice, like 4 weeks.
Yeah.
But you need to get out. I'm like, well, there you go. There's your answer to what you asked for mere hours before. And it was that quick.
Yeah.
Happened. So, so the difference between a wish and actual intuition is what the practice is all about.
Yeah.
Well, I just know this is what I'm supposed to do. But a lot of times that's our wish. So it's just this inner deep knowing. And again, what Dr. Mel was talking about is it's not thinking with this, it's going inside and it's listening and really understanding both the emotional part of you, the physical part of you, and the thinking part of you. And when that's in alignment, that's when you get the manifestation. So it's thinking, it's emotions, and it's body. When all of those are aligned, that's when the miracles happen.
Yep.
We can use some of the physics things to actually get those all in alignment. Did that answer your question?
It did. And it actually just reinforced something that I want to, because I know one of my clients is listening and we talk about this all the time. Is it my ego or is it my intuition? Because that ego can be so loud. And to what we were talking about with Dr. Mel, especially if you're microdosing and there's trauma responses coming up, the ego is trying to protect us.
Yes.
Right. So my ego could have said, oh, California is too expensive. You know, you have such a big network here, and why would you leave? And I was like, no, I know that I know that I know it's my calling, it's my destiny. And so you kind of answered that, but do you have any other input on, ego versus intuition?
It's a tough one because we're think of it this way. We are divine beings having a human experience. Wrap your head around that. You're all divine beings having a human experience. And this human really likes to protect us from that divine connection because there's so much going on around us. This is why the great gurus have to go to the mountains. They have to get away and hide in the caves and study in the caves to get rid of the ego that's being built by everything that's all around us. So most of us on this planet, us divine beings having this human experience, have to figure out ways to navigate the life we've chosen to live amongst populations. But then as you mentioned really briefly at the beginning, we're going through this energetic shift, which, you know, we creatively call period 9 in metaphysics. And the shift is happening right now.
Yeah.
It's fully locked into place in 2024, February 24, 2024. But it's been happening quite quickly since 2017. So over the past 6 years, more and more people are awakening to this divine nature that we have. So spirituality, self-improvement, self-development, plant medicine, metaphysics, all of these things are going to become more and more mainstream. More people are going to be looking at them as a way to reconnect to the peace that is the divine within us. So it's like this great awakening is happening. And as it does, that ego intuition will have this push-pull, and this is why you need someone to help you. It's like going into a gym, a workout facility for the first time and seeing foreign exercise equipment that you have no idea how to use. Well, you can go over and pull some levers and move some weights around, but until someone shows you how to really get the most out of those machines, you could A, hurt yourself, B, think it's ridiculous and leave and never go back again. Or you might just stick to one machine and build up your bicep really strong, but have neglected every other part of your body. That's why it's very helpful to have someone who can help guide you. And if you're at phase 1 or phase 100, there's always more to learn and always more to unpack, because we're human. Even though we're divine, we're human. So we all have, I mean, you're doing your journey, I'm doing my journey. So we're always going to have things coming up. It's why we're here. We're here to have all these great experiences, right? We're supposed to go through struggle. We're supposed to figure out how to solve our problems and cure our illnesses and get through relationship traumas. We're supposed to have these experiences. But if you lean into them and let them define you, then you miss out on the greatest experience of all, which is uncovering and rediscovering and reconnecting with that divine part of us that lies within.
I love that. Yeah. And I just want to make a note. We'll have a few more minutes with Amy, and then we're going to wrap it up. But you brought up that spiritual being having a human experience. You brought up the divine spark within. I'll full disclosure, and I've been very open about this. You know, I grew up with a very strong religious, dogmatic, kind of philosophy, we'll just say, good in theory, but it also, when there came a time where I shut that side of myself down, I was left void of trusting myself. Because even religion tells you to look outside yourself for the answers. Okay, let's just be honest, right?
Yeah, for the most part, yep.
And so for me, coming back into trusting my intuition, recognizing that divine within was so hard at first, Amy. I thought I was a bad girl. I thought I was doing something wrong. And I feel like there's a lot of shame out there. And that's why I think that was just what came through when your client's husband was like, rolling his eyes as, it's prideful almost to trust yourself in some respects. So right. I'm glad you brought this up, because I feel like a lot of us are afraid to trust ourselves because of childhood trauma, because of upbringing and all these rules. And period 9 being about women and the divine feminine energies that are coming in right now. Some people call it Age of Aquarius. Some people call it 5D Ascension. You talked about period 9. I just want to mention that because someone asked on the comments, what is period 9? Again, do you mind sharing a little bit about that? Because I think the other element, and I hope I'm not jumping around too much, but the other element with intuition, a lot of times people think it's just a female thing, right? But men have feminine energy too. So that's why we're all, men and women, non-binary, gay, straight, it doesn't matter. We're all being called to trust and go inward and develop that intuition for the greater good, not just our own personal good, right?
Absolutely, because the more people lean into that, the quicker the earth energy will ascend and we'll all move to those higher levels. So what is period 9? Let's get back to that. So in metaphysics, feng shui specifically, there are 20-year cycles of energy. And There's 9 of those different cycles. Now, this is a whole class in and of itself. I could talk about this for an hour to help you understand. So they're labeled period 1 through 9. So period 1 is 20 years, period 2 is 20 years, so on and so forth, and for here into eternity. So we go through those 9-year cycles of 180 years. So we're in period 9. And period 9 relates to fire energy. So period 8, which we're in right now, we've been in here since 2004. So 2004 to 2023. Period 9 starts 2024 and goes to 2043. Period 8, which we're in right now, is an earth element energy. So think about earth. It's very slow moving. This past 20 years has been about young men creating tech. So think about what happened in this 20-year cycle of energy. All of these young men creating Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of these things happening. Now, as we move into period 9, as Lois mentioned, it's the rise of women, but it's also the sense of identity. So think about all of the gender, different identities that are coming out. So it's not just women, it's also the identity of a person is starting to be respected. Fire is very fast moving. So things are going to move very fast. I don't know anyone watching. Have you thought or felt how fast June and July went? These are fire months. It's not going to slow down. Time is going to feel like it's accelerated because of this fire energy. If you think of fire, fire burns upward. So we are likely to see a lot of increase in space travel or space exploration. Think of SpaceX. Things that fire is also technology. We're going to see technological advances like we have not seen up until this point. It's also AI. AI is in the news everywhere now. I've been talking about it for probably over a year, how the rise of artificial intelligence and virtual reality is going to be really at the forefront in changing a lot of what's going on in our world. So that's the very short course on what these periods of energy are. But basically, we're having one of the major shifts in energy because we're going from earth to fire, and fire transforms all the other elements. It is the only element that truly does that. It hardens earth, it melts metal, it burns up wood, it evaporates water, and fire just gets fire. Fire is fire. So it's really a transformational time, which is why we see the rise of spirituality happening. Now, you talked about religion. I was raised Lutheran, and I married a Catholic and became Catholic. Religion is got a lot of ritual to it. It has a lot of history to it, but it is an interpretation of someone else telling us how we're supposed to relate to God or the divine being. Spirituality is your own personal relationship. It's your own personal connection to divine spirit. So to me, the two are not in conflict whatsoever. In fact, most of my clients are regular churchgoers. Doesn't matter religion. I have people from all religions that are my client. And when I help explain it that way, because the first thing is, well, how does what you do go against your religion? I said, well, it's not religion.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you what to believe or how to believe or rituals to do. What I'm doing is helping you open up to your own connection, and it actually deepens the religious experience in a church type setting because it makes the ceremonies much richer because you can actually connect into that energy. It's fascinating to go tour churches in Europe because you can see the historical significance of why they built the steeples the way they did, or why they built the glass, the big round stained glass windows on either side of the cathedral. There's all metaphysical history as to why they did that. So it's fascinating to see the connection to metaphysics in the actual structures that were built hundreds and hundreds of years ago.
I love it. Yeah, just so you know, there's the psychedelics gospels, and there's actually mushrooms in all sorts of cathedrals. They actually have it in pictures and stuff. So there's so much that I'm going to be sharing on this new podcast. I'm so glad you brought up spirituality because, that's why I'm relaunching this as a spirituality, because it's all about that wisdom within, which is developing your intuition, which is what we talked about. I just want to acknowledge Dr. Mel says thank you. That was her asking. And then my friend Maria says this is so powerful. So all of the stuff that we've shared, thank you so much for being here today, Amy. I'd love for you to share, where can people find you?
Sure. I just saw another comment that said, is this why Canada is on fire? Just kidding, or maybe not. Well, interesting enough, you should say that. You also notice that we are setting records worldwide with how hot the temperatures are, right? So yes, this fire, actual forest fires in Canada, are part of this year, and the fire energy coming in. I have talked about it in my monthly metaphysics classes that I do, about the power of this fire, about more warlike tendencies, actual physical fire, potential volcanic eruptions, are things that we will possibly be seeing. So what did you ask? How can people find me?
Yes. Yes, and she has a free gift that I'm also going to be putting on the podcast anniversary page, but go ahead and share.
Yep, so it's pretty easy. The easiest place to find me is on my website, and it's just my name. It's amytyson.com. And the easy way to remember how to spell my last name is to think of it in 3 parts. First is the word the, T-H-E, and then the word is, I-S, followed by an E-N. So it's Amy, THEISEN.com. That's also my Facebook handle. It's also my YouTube handle. I have a Monday mantra that I put out on YouTube every Monday morning to help you tap into that Chiman Dunja formation of the day to help you slide into the week. And then I have 3 free courses on my website for you. So when you go to my website, up in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see free courses. You click that, you enter your birth date and time. It will generate your life chart and your Chiman Dunja chart. So the 3 classes will take you through information all about you. So if you want to know more about you, you'll find out about your personal life star, which gives you character traits. You can also put in your spouses, your kids, your enemies, your bosses, and learn about them too. And then the second module talks about your Daymaster, which is part of your life chart, tells you about 70% of your character traits, unless you have some other combinations going on, but that's that second one. And then the third one gets into the spirituality that we've been talking a little bit about. It talks about your guardian of destiny. And if you look at the initials G-O-D, that's why I call it the God Spark. Guardian of destiny is your spiritual connection. And it depends on your birth date, who your guardian of destiny is. It gives you more insight into why you do the things you do and how you've been supported in your life journey thus far, and then how you connect in with that guardian based on the direction that you sit. When you do your meditations, you can instantly connect into that high level. And that was what we used for the commanding to get the information Lois needed to when she should move. We didn't use her personal one, we used a different formation. But the personal guardian of destiny is the stepping stone to learn all about Chiman Dunja. So those free courses are on my site. When you complete those, you'll be invited to take in a free 30-day trial membership, no credit card required, where you can come into my monthly metaphysics class where I talk about the month's energy, talk about how it will be affecting you personally. Like this month, individuals that have the clash animal, which is the ox, have some issues going on this month. And then I give you a little bit of a metaphysics class that you can use right away. So it is a pretty big package of free stuff that I'm giving you. I hope you take me up on it, because it'd be fun to see and meet you in the monthly metaphysics class at some point.
Absolutely. And just so you guys know, Amy's also a part of my microdosing subscription. She's shared her monthly predictions. So if you join my subscription as well, you'll get to experience her as part of that. Because for me, knowledge is power, and wisdom that comes from in that teaches you to go within, to be prepared. That way you can respond to life as opposed to react. So I'm so grateful for you, Amy, for being here today. And last but not least, when you hear the phrase healthy and wealthy and wise, what does that mean for you?
I think we kind of covered that. It's the wisdom within us really contributes to the health and wealth of the life that we see externally around us. So the more grounded, the more focused, and the more at peace you are inside will reflect on your outer world with your health and the wealth that you attract in, because you're vibrating at a higher level.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. I get to see you in Minnesota next month too, hopefully to give you a big hug. So thank you for making time and space for us today.
Yeah, thanks. We'll see you soon.
All right. Welcome, everyone. I just wanted to acknowledge before I bring on a very special guest who's here to share a little bit about his story. I am Magdalena Grace, Magdalena for short, just sharing with you guys my 3-hour marathon relaunch. So if you get the opportunity, please comment #live below and where you're tuning in from. That would be incredible. I'd love to be able to acknowledge you as we go along here. We have one more planned guests. I've got a couple guests now, and then another speaker, David Dubé, is going to be talking about pleasure. And yes, we're going to cover all levels of pleasure, the sexual pleasure and just life pleasures, the negatives that we've all grown up with, and then the truth about what pleasure is really for us in our life. It's a very powerful yet sensitive topic, so I hope you guys can stick around for that. And I'm so excited now to call upon my friend and actually has been a mentor and has been a client now, who's going to come on and share. Josh, I hope you're ready. I see you, so I'm bringing you on now.
Oh, okay.
Yay! How are you, Josh?
I'm well. How are you?
Amazing. You're our third Minnesotan here on today's show. I didn't plan it that way. It just happened. But I'm so excited. Share a little bit about yourself, and then we'll explain, why you're here today.
All right. I'm retired. Before I retired, I worked as a psychiatric social worker for a few years, and then went into real estate and sold real estate, and then became a manager of agents, which really was not that different than being a social worker, to be honest.
And I'm laughing because I was one of those agents he got to work with, and I would call him and my SOSs in the real estate industry. We're thankfully few and far between, but you were just a great mentor and someone I could trust. And so, speaking of trust, you came to me, and not too long ago. Share why that happened and what we worked on together.
There's a show called The Good Fight that has Christine Baranski, and she was an attorney, and somewhere during the show, she started microdosing. I don't remember the circumstances, but she was microdosing mushrooms and was talking about how she found that really helpful and how she really enjoyed it. This was like 3 years ago. And ever since then, because I really enjoyed the show, I've thought about microdosing. I think it would be kind of something fun to do. I really didn't know what it would be like, but I thought it would be fun. And I've kind of reached out here and there. Nobody knew anybody who dealt with that. And I can't remember how we ended up talking about it, but all of a sudden I had a connection, not just to getting the medicine, but to actually being guided to use it in a way that would be productive. And that's how I got here.
Awesome. So if, again, I really appreciate you, because sharing and being open and vulnerable on a show like this is a really big deal. And I just want to say thank you and honor you. Share whatever you feel about like what your experience was like and what your goals were and what you accomplished.
Okay. I didn't have any set goals initially. I have had a lot of issues with pain in my back because I've had some botched back surgery a few years ago. And so if I had any one overriding goal, it was to figure out a way to deal with pain there. Very early on, you told me to expect nothing and to be prepared for anything. And that really ended up being the major guidance that I received as I did this. I wish I could say that I had this great insight. My pain is all gone. I'm totally different now. No, I still have back pain. People who know me, I don't know if they notice any difference, but I do. You know, and I guess that's the stuff that I really appreciate. I've just taken about a 1 month break from it. I'm going to be starting again this week, doing some dosing. I just like how it worked behind the scenes, I guess is the only way I can describe it. I wasn't necessarily aware of any conscious changes going on, but I would end my day saying, you know, this has been a really good day. I really feel good. When nothing really was different about that day than any other day, except that I'd microdosed. And I realized that it was behind the scenes, changing the way I thought or perceived various things that were part of my everyday life. I don't know that I can be any more specific than that.
No, and that's great. The behind the scenes thing is key. And I realize there's some people watching, whether live on the replay, may be confused. What is microdosing? I just put my website, microdosingforhealth.now, that site. But the idea is it's a small amount of a substance, whether it's psilocybin, San Pedro, ayahuasca. There's a lot of different options out there. But with the main idea is that it's going to work with your gut brain, your head brain, your heart brain, and make some shifts. However, it's not a magic pill. It's not a quick fix. And you had a very cool experience that you shared with me. We worked together for 2 months, one-on-one coaching in my 30-day jumpstart. And I helped you create sacred space. I helped you set up this relationship and this co-creation with the medicine. Because just using the medicine, guys, doesn't work. You can't just swallow a pill. It's not like a supplement. It's not a pharmaceutical. You had your meditation time, again, whatever you want to share. And it worked pretty well for you when you were doing that, right?
Yeah. And it was, you know, again, you gave me some guidance. So every morning when I would wake up, the first thing I would do would be go straight to our guest bedroom, where I just had I would put on some meditation music, keep the light very low. I would shut the door so nobody came in, although about half the time I've got a little dog that liked to come in and lie with me and, you know, be part of this. She just wanted to participate. But I would sit there and, you know, meditate on things, kind of get in a frame of mind for about 10 or 15 minutes. And then I would take the medicine and meditate for about another 45 minutes. I did that actually part of the time with mushrooms and part of the time with ayahuasca. Didn't see a whole lot of difference overall, although I felt that I got maybe a little more benefit out of the mushrooms. Just, I don't know, it just felt it was a little more beneficial to me. What was interesting, I said I had stopped after the 2 months. I took a break, and maybe 2.5, 3 weeks ago, I decided, you know, I'm just going to take one dose just to take it. I hadn't taken anything for a couple weeks, and it just felt like I'd like to do that. Well, it wasn't all that great. I mean, I did no meditation. I just walked in the room, grabbed a capsule, and took it. I ended up feeling like I was stoned all day long. I had a buzz. It was not a fun feeling at all. And I realized that, yeah, you can't just take this and expect great things to happen. There's a whole process to make it really beneficial. And trying to give up that process or trying to bypass the process, for me, didn't work at all.
Yeah. Well, I have one last question, because I also remember, if you care to share, you also had some habit changes as well in your life. Do you care to share any of those habit changes with us?
Oh, well, I used to drink, 3 or 4. Are you talking about my Diet Pepsi? I like Diet Pepsi, and I would drink 3 or 4 a day. One of my goals was to stop it entirely. And I did for probably a month, and I have gone back to it, but it's now 3 or 4 cans a week at most. And a lot of times I don't. I had the same experience. I would have a cocktail every evening. I have 1 or 2 a week now. And I find that, I don't need to give it up completely, but doing it less, I actually feel pretty darn good. Physically, it feels better to not do it as much, but I don't feel guilty about, I don't feel like because I don't do it at all, or because I didn't completely give it up, I failed. No, I've changed my pattern, and this actually works better for me overall.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And this is why I put my website is microdosingforhealth.now.site. Not a quick fix, not a magic pill. And again, that's something I saw people trying to do it on their own, and they were having either no results, no lasting changes, no transformation. They would also quit and stop and start and stop and start. And that's what I did. Actually, I had a very scary experience microdosing in my first month on this journey. Freaked me out. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. So just be aware, guys. It's really a great idea, even if it's not me, to find someone that you trust to work with, even with something as simple as microdosing, especially if you don't want to throw money away or have a trauma come up and then not know how to process it. And then even just to have a mirroring back to you, even like in your situation, how to change your relationship with pain and how to have a different perspective. It helps so much with guidance. Anything else you want to share before I let you go?
I'm just going to add that I really enjoyed the 2 months working with you. I really enjoyed what I got out of it. I've enjoyed I guess it's going to be closer to 6 weeks that I've not been doing anything, but I'm really excited to start again. I loved what I had when I was doing it. I really enjoyed the break, but I'm ready to do some more growth and experiencing of it. So I'm looking forward to starting this week and next week. So
beautiful.
It's been great. So.
Thank you. Yeah, integration and time off is key. So I'm so proud of you. Thank you again for being here and sharing your story with us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right. See you. So if you're just joining us, that was my friend and client, Josh, who is sharing his microdosing testimonial. And a lot of times people, I think, overestimate what's possible with microdosing. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and it's a journey, just like Dr. Mel and I talked about, just like Amy and I talked about. Rome wasn't built in a day. And part of my background was 17 years in health and fitness and nutrition, helping people get off medications. If you've read the book Compound Effect, weight loss, getting off medications, and yes, transformation with plant medicine, especially needing to have it be done safely, because this is a very sacred spiritual medicine that can really bring up a lot for you, especially around trauma and things of that nature. It's those small, sustainable, consistent changes that are going to bring you true, lasting results and shifts. So part of my journey, I have another impromptu guest here. Thank you so much, Adina. I'm going to explain a little bit what Adina did with me and also put a plug for her. I was on her podcast and we talked about microdosing, in fact. And I was telling her, hey, first of all, best podcast interview I ever had, by the way. So Adina, if you get a chance, drop the link in the comments so people can go and check it out. But we talked about microdosing. And she was like, oh my gosh, this sounds amazing. I want to do this. And so she was a part of my group, my first ever group microdosing program with the Soul Vines ayahuasca. Again, the legal psychedelic. So I can openly talk about that source and openly be sharing that with people. But we did a 4-week program. And Adina, I'm going to bring you on now so you can share with us your experience.
Hi there. Hi, Magdalena. Nice to see you.
Yeah. So you are a podcaster, you're a mama, you've got huge things that you're creating in the world. So tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is great. I'm enjoying learning so much information about this world of microdosing and plant medicine. And bringing on all different kinds of spiritual healers and experts in the field onto my show, which of course is how I found you. And now it opened up the whole world. So I've become really interested in this topic, around plant medicine. And, obviously as a in the spirituality space, I launched kind of my personal brand as a spirituality consultant, and doing a bunch of other things. And basically, learning more about these medicines. And I was hearing about doing ayahuasca journeys and ceremonial medicine, and the right time hadn't come up for me. But then, when I talked to you and obviously learned about the microdosing approach and some of the benefits of the coaching and the support, that's when I became really interested. So I think that's what's resonating with a lot of people. Kind of like your guest earlier, Farah, was saying, there's a lot of tourism of people going to do these ceremonies and experience all these things. But, one of the things I had heard again and again was just doing the groundwork and having a safe space and being in alignment spiritually with certain goals, and, what that really looks like. And so just laying the foundation and the groundwork for the whole experience and the process. So yeah, that's what I did. And I'm so excited that I was part of that first group you launched. I actually still feel part of it because I still have a little bit of my tincture left. And so I feel like I'm still in the course. I don't know where the last month went. So just like Amy would say, time is this June, July. I don't even know. It's already August. I don't know where my summer went.
Yeah, the timelines are collapsing. All the more reason to be really present and connect. So tell us as much as you want to share. I know it's a very personal journey when you go on this path, but tell us what drew you, like what were your intentions with the medicine, and then we'll talk about your results and experience.
Right. Yeah. Well, you launched it in a timely way around Father's Day, and there was a lot of focus on healing of the masculine wound particularly. And I have been personally, doing focus work around my masculine energy. I mean, my feminine embodiment energy work, and learning all different, modalities and ways to do that, and techniques and body work and meditations and yoga, all the things. Right. And, I have an awareness of like my generational trauma and having a difficult, childhood, and immigrant parents that are very, there's a lot there to unpack. And so healing the relationship with, balancing my feminine and masculine energies was really appealing. And then I also, I don't think anyone really has talked much today about the group aspect. So I definitely think being supported in a group atmosphere was really cool, because that's where, we were noticing the common themes that everyone would bubble up for everyone. And then you're like, oh yeah, that did happen for me. Or, this fight happened with my partner, or, these codependencies started coming up. And, I feel like it really does take a container, or like a, group of people in a small setting to really draw out some of those benefits as well. Because obviously, kind of like your last guest said, you don't really, it's not like you start taking it and all of a sudden things start happening, or, unicorns appear in front of you and to come heal you. So, we gotta heal through the interactions and the day-to-day lessons that we all are learning as a collective. And so those themes had come up, and like Father's Day, people are still talking about it. And then there was like the portal, and all the energetic healing in that area. So it's just, it amplified everything that's already happening within ourselves.
Beautiful. If you can summarize, because I know it's a lot, but if you could summarize, what were your top 2 or 3 takeaways or transformations from that 4-week experience that you want to share?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this common thing that we're talking about with healing within and looking within our own self, and creating a space, and even in some cases a ritual around that, was one of my biggest takeaways. carving out that space in my days and in my intentions and just spiritual practice was one of the benefits. So adding this kind of layer of like a deepening process, and just being in alignment with what the, you know, what everyone else is feeling, like this looking within and not having to, you know, kind of be constantly seeking things from outside of ourselves and doing a lot of this inner ego work and things. So, you know, I just learned a lot about what other people were going through. I learned more about myself. And then I had, you know, things in my own personal relationship, you know, deepening of kind of some of my dreams, what they were telling me to do. I have situation romantically going on and I get confused. And so also talking to you along the way for clarity was really helpful, and I learned a lot from that. So yeah, a lot there. There's just so much I could talk about. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that share. And I guess if you want to plug your podcast really quickly, how can people find your podcast?
Yeah, well, I'll link our episode of You and I here. So it's my YouTube channel also, because that's the visual. We like to have the visuals. And then otherwise, you know, Apple Podcasts, just Into the Light with Adina Movana. And on my Instagram is the easiest way to find me for anyone. And I love this community. I love all your guest speakers, expert partners in this area. So I'm just thrilled. I'm excited to be on this journey with you. And now you've relaunched and rebranded in this area. And now we just are even more powerful together. So there we go, sister. Let's do it.
Awesome. And I will have you on my show this fall. And so stay tuned, guys. You've got to have Adina, which is a spirituality expert consultant. She's like a gateway to all things love and light and healing. Her show is amazing. So thank you again for being here.
Yeah. And also just coming from a Muslim background, because I will say a lot of what you guys were just talking about with, I think it was Amy, right? So, you know, really resonating with that this is a way to come into contact more with our own inner God spark energy, whatever that might be. And, you know, that is also part of my messaging and my platform, just around unity consciousness, awareness, and, you know, like some of the things I talk about, and hashtag not that kind of Muslim. So I think there's a lot of awareness. Yeah. Bringing these things into other spiritual traditions and faiths, and just awareness and like healing some of those. I should feel guilty. This isn't allowed. This is out of the realm of what I should or believe or not believe is working or happening. That is the most important work that I do, that I feel I would, you know, that I want to be advocating for in this space with my platform. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Have a beautiful rest of your day. And I know she'll be tuning in, sharing her podcast episode with me, talking about microdosing. And I just want to shine a light on something. And I think it may be even a good segue to talking to David Dubé, my next and final guest for today. Remember, this is a double header. Tomorrow from 4 to 7 Pacific, we will be having another round of guests, another amazing lineup of people. And so if you've seen value in this show today, please hit the share button with your community. If you want to win a couple of the grand prizes that I'm giving away, a plant medicine ceremony, really sacred healing, lots of integration to support you, and doing it the best and most proper, safest way is my passion. So that's grand prize number 1. Grand prize number 2 is the microdosing package. And so if you hit the share button, comment hashtag live below with your name, city, and state. If you refer 5 friends to this event, and all they got to do is subscribe and actually register at this website that's showing on the screen right now, and has been plastered everywhere. And as long as they name you as a referral person, then you'll get that credit. And then, of course, leaving a review on iTunes, or a recommendation on LinkedIn, or even a review on Facebook on my fan page. Any and all. Email me with questions. The deadline for all of that is tomorrow night by the end of these double header days. So I know it's a little bit dizzying and maybe a little bit to do, but hey, these gifts are $1,000 value. So can be the winner chicken dinner. And I'd love to be able to give this away to you. And so my final guest, we're going to be talking about pleasure. And you're like, well, what is that all about? You know, a lot of what some of my guests previously were talking about and what Adina talked about is a lot of time we grow up with a lot of shame, a lot of thou shalt not, thou can't. We get shut down as kids. And again, our parents did the best they could, right? But it's a society and culturally where a lot of times we don't get to be our true highest and best version of ourselves. We feel less than, we feel not enough, we feel judged. We'll oftentimes then suppress our light or our God spark within, as Amy and Adina were talking about, because we feel separate. And I personally believe that separation is what is killing us as a society, killing us internally. I was so dead inside 2.5 years ago, and I found this path of spiritual awakening and healing. And a lot of it was because I was suppressing my truth. I was suppressing pleasure. And I do want to give a shout out. Part of the reason I have a new name is because it's my new truth. And part of the name is Magdalena. So if anybody questions, like, especially from my past, like, oh, you know, all this talk about religion and things of that nature. Oh my gosh, I healed my religion wound thanks to plant medicine. Jesus is still all right with me. In fact, he's right here behind me. If you can see that painting, that's Jesus himself. He's my wingman. He's on my shoulder. Him and Magdalene, Mary Magdalene. Oh, by the way, is part of my inspiration, part of my teaching, part of my healing process, and coming back to that sacred union within of the feminine, masculine energies, and really owning your pleasure and owning your desires and owning your truth and owning your greatness, as opposed to being told you can't do that because you are bad or that is bad, whatever that is for you. And so owning what that is, being in your truth, standing in your power, and enjoying pleasure on whatever level that is, of course, safely, not hurting anyone, and all of the things, is a little bit about what me and my next guest are going to talk about. So I'm welcoming you, David. I hope you're ready. Are you ready? Here you are.
I hope I'm ready.
I can hear you now. Welcome, David Dubé.
All right.
Phoenix,
Good deal.
This is kind of fun because, like, all of my other featured guests, and even one of my microdosing clients is from Minnesota. You and I met in Minnesota. We were both different beings in our carnations at that time, and we reconnected as a result of us, I think, both experiencing more of this ascension and this awakening in this global expansion that we're experiencing. And when I found out you were a pleasure coach, and, you know, back in the day, I was sales lady, you were, you know, the guy who was the networking guru and all of that kind of stuff. You have quite a story, and you've transformed and shifted a little bit. So I'd love for you to share a little bit more about your journey and who you are and where you are today.
Jeez, it's such a big ask. Where I'm at today, being in Phoenix as opposed to being in Minnesota, so much has changed, right, in the last couple of years. And for me, I went through, you could say, a rebirthing, because in 2016, my mom got really sick. It's her third time with cancer, and then she passed away. I was her caregiver, and my sister, who was blind and autistic, her caregiver. And then she passed away in 2017, and dealing with all that stuff. And what I was doing at the time was just doing a lot of business coaching at that time. And I stopped taking business clients. I stopped doing my speaking engagements, stopped doing pretty much everything. And then in 2018, I had 5 people in my life pass away, the last one being my older brother. So it's my sister, my brother, myself. So that in itself, 5 people 1 year, pretty difficult thing. And I kind of just stopped working for a little while. And I decided so COVID started, I decided to start something new during COVID. And I fell on my face, as it were. And it wasn't working the way I thought it should be, or the way we have this perception of the what isness of our lives and how expectations should be. And it didn't turn out the way I was hoping it would be. And kind of felt like I fell flat on my face. So I sold my house. I like 90% of all of my own and my belongings, and then just moved to Phoenix to start anew, and got here and wasn't working for quite some time, and had some consultations with some friends and some experts, and I had 3 near-death experiences while I was in Phoenix. And it comes down to, what do you really want to do with your life? Mind you, I kind of had a birthing journey before this, starting in 2011. But right at this time, it was like, I need to do something. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, as I'm sure so many of you are. And you wanted something that was right for you. And for years, everything I did was relationship-based, relationship coaching. I created personality typing. I taught my personality typing for 15 years. Doing sales trainings, networking, how to network, all these things with relationships. And that drove me to doing relationship coaching. And kind of the natural thing that I looped back into was pleasure. And so I started doing pleasure coaching. I mean, kind of what I did when I was doing relationship coaching was pleasure coaching, but I never connected the two. So, and really it was the first thing that started out for me. I had a girlfriend tell me, I've never experienced such a thing. You need to teach this. And kind of, 360 degrees back to where I originated, which was back when I was like 20 years old. So there's a whole lot in a short period of time. Here I am.
Go ahead. I don't know.
No, I was just saying it's just so much in such a short period of time. People are like, you lost how many people? Holy shit.
Yeah. Well,
you almost died.
That connected us because as I've shared with my audience, I've lost 12 friends to suicide. Most of them happened like in the last 6 to 7 years. My parents and brother died back to back to back. And you start to you start to realize life and death, it's so fleeting. And
so close.
And then in your case, because, my husband's had their near-death experience, and I just was like immediately touched by your story. And you can't go through any of that without having like a real spiritual awakening and a real purpose and a passion. And so I know you're working on project breakthroughs, and I know we don't have enough time to talk about all the things. So David's going to come back later. This year, but why is pleasure? I sort of alluded to it, but I want to hear it in your own words. Why is pleasure? Well, I'm just going to let you take it from here. Why is pleasure something that we want to talk about today?
Pleasure is the antithesis by which we all live. We're a hedonistic society. We chase pleasure constantly. We're constantly chasing pleasure. Whether that's from picking up your phone and scrolling social media, to calling your partner to tell them how much you love and care about them, to, depending on where you live, recreational marijuana or whatever, right? Like microdosing, which you talk about. The whole idea is pleasure. And no matter who you are, what you think you know, you probably don't understand pleasure. And I say this with everything I've ever taught all the time, is people get things, but they seldom understand them. I'll say that one more time.
Yeah.
People get things, but they seldom understand them. So let me ask you, Lois, what is, how many systems make up the human body without Googling it?
Yeah. And I've been studying so much about the body. Is it 9 or it's a trick question, I feel like.
So, I feel like they don't have it all figured out, but if you're to look it up, it says 12.
Okay.
Right. So, you have the endocrine system, your respiratory, your reproductive. I could go through them all. The idea is this: you get a human body, you have a human body. You don't need to know how it works in order to live your life. Makes sense, right? Well, how about pleasure? Do you need to know about pleasure in order to experience pleasure? You don't. You can just experience pleasure, but there's a problem with all of those things. If you don't fundamentally understand something, can you be used by it? Can it use you? Can others use you because you don't understand something? Absolutely.
Or can you become addicted to it? Like a lot of those things that you talked about, pleasure oftentimes can turn into an addiction.
which is one of the main reasons why I talk about this. Now, when I say to anyone that I'm a pleasure coach, automatically people go where? Into the bedroom, right? And that's fine, because that's actually kind of, I feel like that's the hook to get them in, but the idea is the same thing, because there's ascension in pleasure. There's ascension in the bedroom, and I'll get to that as we talk about this. But I think that the biggest thing that people need to realize is that there's two forms of pleasure. There's what's called negative pleasure and positive pleasure. Now, if I were to ask you, Lois, what do you think negative pleasure is?
Wow. It's so interesting because I've never thought about it in that way. Things that are too good to be true, things that I should not be doing because it is demonized, or that makes me a bad person if I seek it out.
So there's the shaming part, which you were just talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, so how you look at pleasure isn't what negative pleasure is. So one's perception isn't what negative pleasure is. What negative pleasure is, it's the things that give you easy joy for little, so little effort, little reward.
Got it.
Or no reward. So negative pleasure is like social media, pornography, masturbation, drug addiction, overindulgence in pretty much anything you can think.
So like the quick fix idea, right? The quick fix, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the dopamine rush.
Yeah.
Right. Video games, all those things. So you have a floor and a ceiling when it comes to like dopamine. And if you screw up your dopamine centers, guess what? When it comes to having real intimate pleasure with someone, you're not going to have the pleasure you want, because you've already screwed up the dopamine centers that produce the dopamine you're going to experience, and all the other cocktail of chemicals that your body naturally produces and experiences during intimacy. And so if you want to level up your intimacy level, you have to figure out how to mitigate and navigate and negotiate with yourself the negative pleasures in your life. Now, you can't escape them. You never will. I won't. You won't. None of us will. But you can mitigate them.
We're human.
Yeah, exactly. You can manage them. But the only way you manage them is by knowing about them, and then knowing what to do to manage them, so you can actually have and experience better levels of intimacy with your partner. And if you don't have a partner, and you want one, you also have to manage and mitigate, because you're not going to be willing to go out and do those things, to meet people, to do the things, if you're constantly screwing up your pleasure centers. Because, sitting at home and deciding to play an hour of video games can lead to 5 hours rapidly. And then you're like, where did time go? And then, I was going to leave my house and do this, but you never did it because as a male, you log online, you're like searching for that porn, that fix that you want, or that video game, or you're scrolling social media, and it becomes a vacuum of time, and it literally screws up the rest of your life, because you're sucked into something you shouldn't be. And that that it shouldn't manage you, but it is managing you. That's why it's negative pleasure. So we don't realize this. So what is positive pleasure? Positive pleasure is putting the effort in and things that give you long-term compounding benefits. So a relationship is that. If you're wondering, like, why shouldn't I masturbate? It's more so for men than women, but it can go both ways. There's what we have what's called recoup time. So as a man ejaculates, there's minerals and vitamins and things that the body needs in your ejaculate. So when you release it, there's a long period of time in which it takes for you to recoup those things. Yeah. And most people don't realize that. They don't understand that. Once again, people get things, they don't understand them. And so only in knowing this can you realize that, holy shit, that's like important. Those are things that you need. Also, the male seed, how many sperm make up the ejaculate? Like millions upon millions. And here's the thing, I think they said like the pinhead, there's 1 million that can fit into a pinhead. If that's true, how many did you release? A male seed could repopulate a city.
Wow.
We don't think about these things, but then we just allow it to go out of us at any given time.
Well, and I think this is profound to be talking about. I've never talked about sex or masturbation or any of this on my podcast. So thanks, David, for breaking the seal, so to speak.
Yeah. Popping the cherry, the proverbial.
Pardon the expression. All due respect, don't want to offend anyone. However, this is also part of the cultural issue at large, because I had a 40-day addictive behavior challenge earlier this year as part of my subscription.
Mm-hmm.
It's very telling how many people signed up and how many people were struggling. A lot of my microdosing clients, because I was a social media work addict / binge drinking to escape aholic.
Right.
And so I turned to plant medicine because I'm so screwed up. I don't know where to turn, even though the answer was inward. Right. A lot of it was, I was looking at these things, and my clients, lots of men with porn addiction, people with social media addiction, alcohol, even addicted to fear. Right. And so it's prevalent in our society. It deserves to be talked about. Tomorrow I have a guest. We're going to be talking about yonis, so we're going to be talking a lot more about this, because if you're so shut down and your creative center, your sexual energy center, which is your sacral chakra, was shut down there. So that I shut down my feminine energy, which we all have. And there was a lot of shame, which is housed in that sacral chakra too. And it's not necessarily directly connected to sex, but it's all connected when you talk about pleasure. So where do we go from here, David? Like, what do people do next once you realize, like, oh my God, they're talking to me right now. Where do I go from here?
Right. That's a great question. A lot of people that I work with, a lot of people actually feel really lost in their sexuality, especially right now, which is kind of mind-blowing to me. This whole concept, this whole thing stems from identity and consciousness. So there's 5 levels of consciousness. Now, I'm not going to talk about those here, but the idea is give you several examples. You're in a relationship and the relationship is stagnant for some reason. Things aren't what they used to be. You're questioning being in the relationship. Why should you be there? A lot of that stems from questioning in relationships in general, has to do with levels of consciousness. If you feel like you want to move up, or you're wanting something in the relationship and you've brought it up to your partner doesn't want that same thing. Oftentimes it's because the level of consciousness that they're at and you're at are different. And what a lot of that has to do with too is identity, how we identify with ourselves and with the world. And if we don't know how we identify ourselves or how others, right? It's how we identify ourselves, not how others identify us. Yeah. And the problem happens to be is we expect other people to identify us the way we see ourselves, which is never the case. It's never the case. People look at you the way they look at you no matter what. And so no matter how much you hide or you cover up or you want to change yourself, people will still look at you how they perceive the reality, their world, not yours. And so you're fighting against that. It says that you're at a low level of consciousness. You're not at a high level of consciousness. And so all of this has to do with identity and consciousness. If you want help and you're looking for assistance, one of the things that you can do is right now, you can go to pleasurecoach.co. That's the website. And if you go /questions, there's a questionnaire that you can fill out that will help me help you better to make more content. And then if at the very end, ask for your email address and I'll follow up with you specifically with any questions that you actually have.
Awesome. So, and I'll put that in the show notes, and I'll also, you'll want to email that to me, David. So I can add that to just so you guys know, we have free gifts, as well as I'm doing a bunch of cool stuff that I'll announce after David on my 3rd year podcast anniversary website, which is right now on the screen. And this is a really profound topic because you talked about identity. Amy talked about that as we're heading into what's called period 9 or even Age of Aquarius, this whole ascension of consciousness. People are waking up and realizing, like, oh my gosh, I haven't been speaking my truth. Oh my gosh, is it safe to do that? Am I safe in my body? There's also trauma that may have also been surfacing, because that's been a topic of conversation with my clients and other people in the plant medicine community. And as you're cleansing and clearing this, then your identity shifts, right? Because now you see yourself as who you really are. That's all part of what this is also about, is your identity and remembering who you truly are at your core, in your essence. But that process is messy. That process is really scary. And then when you use the word pleasure, there's a lot of people who have that negative struggle with it. So I didn't know if you had like quick tips on how, in your experience, because like for me, it was microdosing and plant medicine and meditation and breath work. Any quick tips on how to shift out of that negative pleasure, I guess addiction, we'll call it?
Really, it's all about defining what you want in your reality, what you want in your life. So based on negative pleasure and positive pleasure, as we already talked about, the one thing is if you already know you have these addictions, the problem is there's not a big enough springboard to push you towards what you really want. You've not imagined the life you truly desire enough to chase it. And so the thing that you must do is define what it is that you really want and desire in your life. And every morning, look at that, think of that, imagine that every single day. And that will push you away from the things that you're addicted to towards the thing that you want. Most people don't do that. That's like one of the easiest and simplest things. And the problem too is, as adults, we lose our imagination. We lose the ability to think of these things, to process these things, and to put them into fruition in our reality. And so my suggestion is just that: grab a notebook, grab a pen, and start writing what it is that you truly want and desire for yourself. Not a tiny goal, not next year's goal, like 5-year, 10-year goal. And make it so big, paint the picture so big in your mind's eye that there's nothing that's going to prevent you from chasing it. Now, if you don't even attain it, but you chase it, where you'll be in a year from now will be so far different than you could ever imagine.
Yeah. Well, and I see it in a lot of couples arguing, a lot of breakups, business partnerships breaking up. A lot of people have been stagnant for so long, they don't even know what they want. So other than like meditation or plant medicine, how do they reawaken that imagination? Because full disclosure, that was part of my issue. I was like, so here.
Right.
I had shut down the imagination, which I call that the feminine side of the brain, the beingness, right? And so how can they awaken that imagination to even be able to remember how to dream again?
Go to travel websites. Go look at things that inspire. Listen to music that inspires you, and then go look at things that inspire you. You know, wouldn't it be nice? So, like, if you wanted to take a trip to Greece or to wherever, the furthest reaches of the earth that you've ever wanted to explore, what would it take for you to do those things anyway? You know, if that's your big goal, the idea is like, look at these things, listen to interviews with people who have what you want or what you could want, or are living the life that you would like to live. Find out what they do, what they've done, right? Explore those options. If you're stuck, you're stuck because what you just said. You're looking this far ahead of you. You can't see out here. You can't see what's further than the tip of your nose. If that's the case, you'll never live further than that. You'll always be living beyond your means this far. And so you have to expand that space that you're looking at. You can't, if all you know is your family and your friends, and they're the people who are in your constant sphere all the time, you will only reach the level of success that they have. So you have to reach further than that. You have to look further than that. But like, watch Shark Tank. Look at the people who are what they call the sharks on there. What are they doing? How did they get there? Right? Look at anyone who's Anthony or Tony Robbins. You've got Dean Graziosi. You've got Brendan Bouchard. You've got all these people who seem to be living this other life that is potentially your life. You could live there. There's so many of them. And don't choose 20 of them. Choose 2 of them. Don't choose more. The other problem is intake.
Overwhelm.
I could sit at a computer and I could watch YouTube video after YouTube video after YouTube video of interview and interview and interview, and be no better, because even though I'm learning something, I'm not doing anything with it. You have to do something with it.
Yeah.
And if you have 10 people that you think are amazing experts, and you follow all 10 people and you consume everything they have, you won't even have time in the day to get anything done.
Less is more.
Right. So choose one, choose two, and focus, and just dive, and then set goals that are greater than you've ever set for yourself, and chase them. You'll have to build it up in your head. What do I want so bad tomorrow that I have to do today in order to get there tomorrow?
Yeah. Beautiful. I don't know if you saw this. This is Bhakti, one of my meditation teachers. Begin, act as if it were so, and the future is created for you. So again, it comes back to embodiment. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of times we've also been stuck in a society that's about overconsumption. More, which is where that negative pleasure also has been exponentially compounded. Mm-hmm. And then when your brain is so stuck in that addiction, like sugar is 8 times more addictive than cocaine, right? So being able to break that takes guidance, takes support. And maybe quickly, as we kind of start to wrap up, David, how can people find you? And I do want you to email me what you shared so I can add it to my site for people to easily find it. But where can people find you to learn more?
So Instagram, pleasure.coach, otherwise pleasurecoach.co. And then the pleasurecoach.co/questions will enable you to ask me the questions you are really looking for answers to. And I give you room on there to like write to your heart's content. So,
beautiful.
Yeah.
And I want to acknowledge your Project Breakthrough community, which we won't get into today, but David's creating community.
Yeah, I'll hear more about that.
Where we'll all be working together for the greater good. We'll be spending money with each other and just really loving on in a higher level of consciousness community. I've had the pleasure of speaking inside your community about microdosing and how that's been helping people with addictive behaviors and creating a new pleasure within, because our pleasure truly does come.
It originates from you, yeah.
From within. And so to be able to just a quick story, what I learned too, and because I feel like, even plant medicine, people can use that as a negative pleasure, just doing it over and over and over again without taking aligned action. What you talked about is embodying, taking a step towards that dream, and actually not only thinking about it, but doing something and getting that shift, and you're embodying that is so key. So I love being able to talk about that more within your community. And I'd love for you to come in and speak inside of my microdosing community, because I have that addictive behavior challenge and I'm putting you on the spot. But I do want to have you come in and be a part of that, so we can help people kind of like break through those addictions and to really find that pleasure within. Because once you recreate it, however you do it, whether it's through meditation, you can create your own pleasure. And I think that's a huge thing that a lot of us, I didn't understand until, I started on this path.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's, I do actually have a free resource for that if you want to share it.
Talk about it. And then again, please email it so I can add it to the page.
Yeah. It's called traumafree.me. It's at traumafree.me. You can go there. It's a small video training course where I teach you how to break free from the trauma that you're dealing with if you're dealing with trauma.
Beautiful. Thank you.
That's all free. It's a 100% completely free training on dealing with trauma, because trauma is shitty. Let's be honest. I've been through it. You've been through it. We've all been through it. Sometimes we can't find the resources we want. Sometimes the resources we want, we're afraid to go to. We're afraid to face our own traumas. And sometimes going to therapy or hearing, you've been through a traumatic event, you go to a group event, you're sitting next to someone and they're telling their story about their trauma. You're like, that's real trauma. Mine's not. And then you walk away. You don't even share your trauma. Yeah. Right? You're living in comparison. You're not going to solve the trauma. That's why this is private. Do it at your own pace. You do it in your home. You watch me teach you how to break free from the trauma. Traumafree.me.
Beautiful. Email that to me so I can add it to the page, and I'll actually add it to my subscription. And I will definitely have David back Feel free to comment below if you found value in this interview. It's a very, in some ways, touchy subject, kind of a faux pas to talk about. But that's the new me, the new podcast to be able to open your mind so that you can actually go inward to heal and have open discussions about things that a lot of times people just want to like stuff down or not talk about it in public. So thank you for giving me this opportunity. And being able to talk about this. So David, when you hear the phrase healthy and wealthy and wise, what does it mean for you?
That's a great question. Healthy, wealthy, and wise. Healthy, obviously, all the stuff I think comes from within. If you don't feel wealthy, you won't be wealthy. If you don't feel healthy, you won't be healthy. Wise comes with years of experience. You don't become wise because you wake up, you're like, I think I know the answer, which is the way I was at 8 years old. I knew the answer to all the things. Didn't you? We all did, right? I'm not the only one. Please tell me that.
Yep. No, you're in good company here.
Right. I mean, when I was a child, I'd ask my dad a question, what is this? He'd answer, he goes, and then I would say, I knew that, Dad.
Aww.
My dad was like the funny, right? So it's an inside job. If you want to be healthy, inside job. You have to go inside. You want to be wealthy? It's an inside job. Life reflects you. If you don't feel it, it won't be you. Yeah. I know I'm blessed every single day I wake up. I look outside, I see mountains and I see palm trees. I'm happy. I'm wealthy and I'm wise.
Yay. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. We'll have you back again soon. And my pleasure. But we got all sorts of good jokes coming along here. So thank you so much. Have a beautiful night. Enjoy those mountains.
You as well. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we are wrapping it up, and I'm going to go and share with you the lineup for tomorrow. And I also just want to throw it out there. If you have any questions about any of the topics, feel free to comment below. Before I share with you tomorrow's lineup and what to expect, I just want to gently remind you, if you're wanting to win one of the grand prize giveaway items, please make sure you check out the rules on the website, the 3rd year podcast anniversary site, which is again where all of the free gifts will be up by early next week at the latest. My hope is to have them up, by Friday, so you guys can capitalize on those. And also the recording on both days is going to be up in YouTube. If you saw value in this, please hit the share button. And it's one of the rules to win one of the grand prizes, either a plant medicine ceremony or a free month of coaching. Both are valued at about $1,000 each to be able to receive deep healing, help you go within in the ways that I found myself needing desperately to really redefine who I truly am at the core of my being. Now, there's a lot of different ways and a lot of different paths, and I respect all of them. Those are the prizes that we're giving away as a result of this relaunch. So make sure you register at the website, the 3rd podcast anniversary website. Comment below #live. You can throw your name in or not, but don't worry, I'll be able to see it later. As long as you #live during the live. If it was after, doesn't count. So you got to #live where you're tuning in from, and then hit the share button, preferably from the Facebook group, but you can also share from YouTube. You can also share from LinkedIn, I do believe. And then invite 5 friends to register at this website here. It actually asks who referred them, and then they put your name, and we have just a few people that have done that. That's probably takes the most amount of time, but then sharing is caring, and your referrals are so appreciated. And then last but not least, you can write a review on iTunes. If you're not an iTunes person, you can also write a recommendation on LinkedIn or on Facebook, and you can just screenshot it and email it to me, Lois@loiscoffee.com. Again, if you want to win the prize, if you want to be eligible. As always, we're here to inspire. We're here to educate. We're here to equip with as many tools as possible, whether it's trauma release, whether it's meditation, whether it's breath work, whether it's plant medicine. I'm going to have a lot of different experts and a lot of unique interviews that I've never had before. to help you wake up to your truth, to heal, to release that trauma. Because unfortunately, a lot of people suppress trauma. I did. Whether it's childhood, ancestral, or probably both. I believe we're all here to heal our ancestral trauma as a society. We are so filled with it. And for many, many, many thousands of years now, we've been focused on that masculine. I'm okay. I just work hard and make money and pay the bills and follow all the rules, right, of this patriarchal society. And in my experience, it's not really living. There's so much abundance in this world, this abundant playground that we get to enjoy on Earth. And I'm just really passionate about this because I've lost so many friends to suicide. I've wanted to die myself personally, and having lost so many to addictions, it's time to have these conversations. They're not always comfortable, admittedly. A year ago, I would have never thought I'd have a pleasure coach talking about masturbation and sex on my podcast, but here we are, right? Because the world is changing and being rebirthed as well as we rebirth ourselves. We help everyone heal collectively. So this isn't about you or me. It's about the we and about shifting that consciousness. So really hope that you enjoyed this. Thank you, Adina. Thanks for the shout out. I appreciate you so, so much. Really grateful for all of you guys taking the time. So let's talk about tomorrow. And we will end a little early. So this is good news. So tomorrow, we had 4 guests today, including my sponsor. Tomorrow we have my friend in the plant medicine space, Cesar Marin. He's the owner of Cultivating Wisdom, and he had his life significantly changed at 55 with microdosing with psilocybin. He was addicted to vaping. That was where he was finding his negative pleasure, using a term from David. And I do see, even like with the cannabis legalization and my concern also with decriminalization of even these sacred plants, people can still have their negative pleasures, right? And we're going to talk about that tomorrow from his perspective and how he transformed that and found a healthy habit in microdosing psilocybin and his Cultivating Wisdom passion. Also have my sister, Norma. She's going to be sharing and talking about eco-sensuality. She will be talking a lot about the yoni, about women's health, transformation, sexuality in a sacred way. And then Suri Sawyer, my friend, a fellow plant medicine woman, she and I are going to talk about consciousness and narcissism specifically, and how childhood trauma, of course, breeds that, and how to transmute that, how to transform that. And we'll be having a couple other surprise guests tomorrow, 4 to 7 p.m. Pacific time. So again, come back for round 2 if you feel called, and you can always catch the replay on my YouTube channel as well. So thanks, Sandy. I love you too. Oh my gosh, Lauren, you hung out for the whole thing. Thank you so much for tuning in, tuning out. Invite your friends to come back tomorrow. Same time, same channel that you watched today. And until next time, again, this is Magdalena Grace, Misty Magdalena Grace, even though I know some people are still adapting to that, and it's all good. Just tuning out here, sending you lots of love, lots of light, lots of healing as we, get through this thing called life together. Until tomorrow, here's to your best health, your best wealth, and learning how to manifest that and attract it, magnetize it through going within by finding and trusting your intuition, your best innate divine God spark within, so you can live your best life. All right, guys. Bye-bye for now.